Based on the play by Prevalent. Got his receiver downfield. That's Cole Davis.
If he has good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer. Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being a double team, multiple moves stacked into one. Just a play of pure domination. This is actual film. This is actual football talk. It's a football show. We're supposed to watch football, not storylines. And you are listening to another edition of Blewett Blitz. I don't know if that was Kyle's phone, but getting a lot of background noise. Kyle, starting early. There's a lot to talk about today. What's going on, man?
Yeah, apparently I had the YouTube version of our show playing from my phone. So the audio from my phone was coming right into the microphone. I didn't realize it. My bad.
Apparently I did. I was like, what is going on here? But lots going on right now. Kyle, we have to do our top 25 list, which I can't speak for you, but it is my favorite show of the entire year. Talking about the top 25, but talking about that,
I would say probably favorite off-season show, but I always like the in-season stuff better.
The top 25, the 53-man roster, and the Giants game. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff going on. Mets game going on right now, which I'll watch later. The Nets got KD back, which, okay. The Knicks did not get Donovan Mitchell, so I'm sorry, Knicks fans. For the ones who don't crap on Nets fans, I feel bad for you that you thought you were getting Mitchell all season, and he didn't end up signing with them. That's unfortunate. House of Dragons is out. The Lord of the Rings is coming. I'm in a legitimately good mood, Kyle, because today it's like mid-70s. Little bit of a breeze. I can smell football coming. I could feel the fall coming. I could feel the northern New Jersey starting to head north. I could feel the New Yorkers starting to head north. The Pennsylvanians going west. I cannot wait to have my own New Jersey in summer, which is like September, October. Italy in a little bit. The Ravens in 10 days. A lot going on. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for all that too. And also, I do always enjoy a new challenge for a new school year, getting new students and stuff. So there's also a part of me that hey, listen, I've been chilling and relaxing and enjoying the summer, and I'm going to be obviously working harder once the school year starts. But I mean, there's a part of me that at this point likes my work. So I'm also excited for that too. But the biggest reason, I think the single biggest reason why fall is my favorite season is because of football. It's your favorite season too.
I would hope so. That's the reason. But it's honestly just a combination. It's a combination of, okay, MLB playoffs, hockey comes back on, basketball comes back on, people leave my state, the beer, just having a nice crisp Oktoberfest in October when it's like high 50s, low 60s, where you can either wear a sweatshirt or shorts. I love that type of weather. So
don't tell me you're one of those guys that wears both, like wear a hoodie and then wear some shorts.
No, it doesn't make sense to me. No.
Okay. My dad always used to make fun of those guys.
I guess unless you're running outside real quick to do something, then yeah, I can get it. It's like a little bit cold or something like that. Yeah, maybe. But to go out in shorts and a sweatshirt, a little bit confusing. But what? Hey, what if just wearing just a shirt is a little bit too cold, but wearing a sweatshirt and pants is too hot? So you have to find the middle ground.
Yeah.
Don't judge. Don't judge.
Oh, stop. You're very judgmental.
No, I'm not. So another announcement quickly. I'm going to say what's up to the people who are in here early, which I appreciate, which means you have your notifications set. So I'm going to run this a little bit more like a podcast for the first hour.
Yeah, maybe we should announce that more, that people should set notifications for the
stream. I think that is their own responsibility if they really want to see us, Kyle. But nonetheless, another announcement. One, the fantasy football draft, Kyle, is the 6th, right? The 6th.
Yeah, what time though?
So let me. I'm going to check my notes just because. Actually, no, I have it on my computer here. Our league is drafting the 6th at 8 p.m. The 6th at 8 p.m. I sent Discord links to everybody. There's a few people who haven't joined the Discord yet. Join the Discord. I think I'm going to host a live Zoom room. So I'm going to do last year's a little bit difficult with Discord. I'm going to set a Zoom room, invite people. You can join on Zoom if you want to draft and discuss there. It'll be a good time. I'm telling you right now. If people, because there's some people who I haven't really heard from a lot, if you do not show up to the draft, it's your last year in the league, bar none. There's no, we don't have any wiggle room with that. So make sure you show up at 9, 6, 8 o'clock, at least draft. I hope that everybody would be in the Zoom room. I think everybody last year was in the Zoom room. I know some people.
So if they miss the draft but win the league, they can't play next year.
if they miss the draft, I'm most likely just going to boot them and then give their auto drafted team to somebody else, to be honest. So we can't have that, which, by the way, Kyle, in our league, in our dynasty league, there was 2 people who auto drafted number 1 and 2. The number 1 and 2 picks in the draft were Evan McPherson and another kicker. And then our friend Vinny got Breece Hall with the 3rd pick because 2 kickers went 1 and 2. I hate the auto draft stuff. Show up if you're going to show up. If you sign up for it, sign up for it. Again, if you don't show up, you're getting booted, and I'm going to give your team to somebody who just, hey, I'll inherit a team. Screw it. Who cares? I'll refund you your money and you're out. With that being said, another announcement, Kyle, is every single week now we will be on Thursday. It's for the season. It gives us an extra day to watch the film. During the offseason, we'll probably go back to rotating Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday. Maybe we'll just do Thursdays. I'll be on every week, and obviously Kyle will rotate. With that being said, also, Kyle will be on every single week for the season.
Yes, and during the season.
And one Mr. Michael Nania will also be here for every single week during the season. So from now until the end of the season, it's going to be me, you, and Nania on Thursday nights recapping the Jets games. So I'm really looking forward to it because we're the film guys who I could definitely not be level-headed all the time. I feel like you're more controlled at times, and Nania is very reserved and knows what he's talking about with stats and all that stuff, and maybe can reel us in a little bit. So I'm looking forward to discussing the games with you guys all season. But with that being said, I want to hit up the chat a little bit before we get into. I think we're gonna do the preseason game, then the 53-man roster, and then the top 25, Kyle. So with that being said, though, May arrest will be a short or a long topic. I don't necessarily know what you mean by a short or long topic, Eagle. But what he was like something with assault with a weapon or something, right? Like burglary with a weapon, or I don't.
According to whatever Samini quote tweeted, he was arrested on the suspicion that he was pointing a gun at another vehicle which had people in it. Yeah,
that's aggravated assault, brother. So, yeah, that's a problem. Obviously, we do not know what happened, so we cannot. Obviously, he has to go through his process. So I don't want to accuse him of anything. If that is true, not the most ideal situation for May and the Saints now and his entire team, family, whatever. Obviously, not the best look in the world. Verge Tibbs says, "Hey, what's good? We'll check in later." Eagle says, "Is there a cut that upsets you that we lost?" For me, nope. We'll talk about that in a little bit going over the 53-man roster, but there's definitely a cut or two where I question what they were doing. Bird chips, I figure the guys I don't like will be the first to go and the additions are made. Yeah. We'll talk about that too. They need an offensive tackle. Michael Elias, whatever. 503, I apologize. There's freaking traffic because usually it takes me 15 minutes to get from where I was going, but it took me 20 minutes because there's just a ton of traffic and New York plates and Pennsylvania plates, and you are not welcome.
Hey guys, don't complain. Joe's in a good mood tonight. You could tell.
Is it true?
Look at it's very evident, Joe.
Dude, I was doing the so I did a by the way, the CJ Uzama review just dropped. I think I still have to drop like Solomon Thomas and Herbig and a bunch of guys, but like I was in a good mood doing my Tony Adams because we'll talk about Tony Adams. I didn't think he was gonna make the roster. I didn't really watch him. I did a review last night and I started recording it. And I'm like, oh, he lays that motherfucker out. I was like, oh shit. I was like, I'm sorry for the people who are watching with kids. I was like, for some reason, when I'm in a good mood, it just the curses fly a little bit more. So I apologize for that. But Tony Adams review coming out. Just recorded the Giants review, so make sure you stay tuned for that. You're going to be getting shotgun some reviews. 1 or 2 might come out after the season starts, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. Let's see. Verge wants Smart over Shep. Talk about that too. Not very techy. Let's see let's see what else the chat is saying. Rodrigo, what's up, Joe and Kyle? What's up? Kyle looks tired AF. Kyle,
I always get that when I don't have gel in my hair. People always say that, but I'm not tired. I promise you.
I think it's a combination of the no gel in your hair and you're wearing like a wrinkly white shirt.
That's quite beat up, which I use to work out. So yeah,
you just need a rip or two. Pull the collar down a little bit more, make it a little bit more saggy. You know, maybe some blood stains.
Hey, people loved the shirt last week, and now I go to this. So
you severely
I'm going downhill.
You severely downgraded, yeah. Joshua, hey Joe and Kyle, have you watched any film? Any? Joshua, you're screwing me up here, buddy. Have you watched enough film on Adams, our safety, to form an opinion yet? I just did an entire almost hour review on one Mr. Tony Adams, so we will discuss that in a little bit. What's up, MB? What's up, Hey in Florida? We need a middle ground.
I think he's talking about the shorts sweatshirt combo.
Florida's all shorts, right? I don't know. Robert S., what's up? Defending my championship, Eagle. MB, setting expectations for my first game. I'm hoping we get 5+ sacks with our fully healthy pass rush. Other than the dub, of course, he says. Lamar Jackson, 5 sacks. In that instance, Kyle, if I told you right now the Jets get 5 sacks from Lamar Jackson, do we win or lose that game? Are you more confident that we win?
I mean, sacks is such a weird stat, but here's my thing. If you're sacking Lamar Jackson, those sacks are probably sacks where he's trying to run and make something happen. And if that's the case, then he's probably losing a lot of yards on those sacks. So I would say yes.
Okay. Yes, I mean, it's going to be a fun game. Let's see. Curry on IR, heard they signed McDermott back. I didn't hear that from any credible source that they signed McDermott back.
I think I saw that somewhere.
I didn't see it substantiated by anybody.
Why don't you just go on the official New York Jets website?
Yeah, we'll do that in a little. We'll do that in a little bit. Evening, lads. The Captain Techno. What's up? What's up, Snoopy? What's up, Eagle? What's up, Mike? Yo, getting in early today. Yeah, it's just I got to go to work tonight, especially tonight. Today's my Monday, so today's like a day I definitely need to sleep a couple hours before work. But nonetheless, too much to talk about in 2 hours. There's just absolutely no way. Kyle looks spectacular as always. Nicholas Cook, love that we're getting healthy for the most part. Knock on wood. So Kyle, let's get into the preseason game. I guess we can go position group by position group, kind of. So, what's up, Chris? By the way, I just saw him pop in. Position group by position group. Let's start off with the quarterbacks, I guess. To me, and again, we'll recap this pretty quickly because I think at this point people are just like, okay, give me week 1. We don't give a shit about the preseason game, so we'll kind of run through it pretty quickly. But quarterback Strevler looked pretty good. Again, it's nothing spectacular that he does. I think it's pretty basic, but do like the fact that he's a quick decision maker. We like his athleticism. Obviously, leading 3 touchdown winning drives in 3 games is great for a guy who's not getting team reps coming from the CFL or wherever the hell he was, and then leading the charge for 3 comeback victories in a row is awesome. Now, with that being said, with Strevler, is this a guy who we think could be Taysom Hill? That's obviously the comparison, dude. He's a white running quarterback. There's really only other one. It's Taysom Hill.
No, because Taysom Hill, you can also split him out and like play some tight end or receiver. We haven't seen any of that from Strevler.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like you could even put Taysom Hill in the backfield as like a fullback, and then he's got the ability to block or even leak out on a pass. We haven't seen any of that from Strevler. So,
with that being said, do you think he would be? Do you think there's some instance where maybe next year? I'm not going to say this year, where he could be the backup quarterback, and maybe not with what the Saints did. There we go. With Taysom Hill, where they put him in for like drives. Do you think there's a situation where he comes in for 2-3 plays a game for some read option or for some like wildcat type plays, not necessarily enough to disrupt the flow of the offense, but do you think there's a possibility that maybe he could do that?
No. I mean, we haven't seen him do any read option. And in terms of him being the long-term backup, I would say that that's maybe a possibility, but that's really tough to say because you didn't watch any of his college tape or any of his CFL tape or anything like that. And what's his arm strength? Like we've seen him make some nice throws and stuff. And obviously his best throw came in the Falcons game, that crease concept where he hit that dig. It was mostly just like a nice read. The arm strength was fine, but we haven't really seen him push the ball downfield too much. I mean, I guess on the touchdown to Mims in the Giants game, but it wasn't like a super deep throw or anything like that. So there is still a level of question of his arm talent or whatever. But I mean, in terms of the way that he's seeing the field and his feel of the game, that's pretty good. But I mean, a backup is generally not supposed to have as good of arm talent as the starter. But without really kind of seeing so much of his game, I mean, just judging on some of this preseason, it'd be a little tough to say that. But I mean, I've seen enough to say I like him better than Mike White.
Yeah, but with that being said, Mike White, again, I'm not remembering the stats off the top of my head, but like 12 for 17, 2 touchdowns, like 140 yards, something like that. I think this is the best he looked. but I'm still never really much. I'm not really overly impressed with Mike White. But now, with that being said, again, I think he had near a perfect quarterback rating. It's kind of hard to like tie this into because we're tied into the 53-man roster, but keeping him over Streveler, I get it. I get that he knows the offense. Streveler's only been taking team reps for a couple of weeks now. So you have Mike White who can run probably the full offense, where Streveler might be a little bit more restricted. So I get that, even though I think just in general, I'd rather have Streveler than Mike White, but you're not going to, keep Streveler to be the backup to Joe Flacco right now.
No. Yeah, I get it. I mean, none of us were surprised that they kept White over Streveler, right? We predicted that in our predictions last week. Mm-hmm. So, and, when Saleh even said in his press conference that, Streveler had the best preseason or one of the best preseasons of all time. And honestly, that could possibly be a true statement. Like, that might not be hyperbole. Who the hell knows, right? I mean, like, plenty of people have had great preseasons or whatever. But it was a really good preseason. Like, I mean, he basically did everything you needed to do in any given offseason to make the team. However, I mean, he was brought in to be a camp arm. All the beat writers were saying that when they brought him in. And the fact is that Mike White has been on this roster for a couple of years now, and he came in and he actually won a big game last year and played, at least decent in some other games. You think about what he did in that Patriots game when he came in to relieve Zach, and what he did in the Colts game prior to him getting hurt. I mean, like, so the coaching staff is going based off of that body of work too, which Streveler, he just doesn't have that in an actual game yet. So you can understand why the coaching staff's going to keep him. They feel like he's got a better grasp of the offense, and if he knows the whole playbook better and could execute it all better at this point. And I don't know. I mean, like, not to make an appeal to authority argument and stuff, but we don't see all the behind the scenes stuff, like what's going on in the classroom and stuff. And, okay, when they're in this look, you're going to check to this. I mean, like, how quickly can he recite some of this verbiage and stuff for the playbook? We don't know that. I mean, we're only seeing what we can see in the games, and yeah, we like what we've seen from Streveler and stuff, but yeah. Anyway, sorry for the very long-winded answer.
I know, I'm used to it. Okay, I'm a long talker too, but the problem is I just talk a lot faster. So with that whole situation with Streveler, I'm happy he's on the practice squad, which we'll talk about in a little bit. What do you think about Flacco? I thought he played relatively well, dude. That interception, like, that
was bad,
brought me down so much. I'm like, if he's gonna get pressured versus the Ravens and he can't make that throw, like, now I don't know if he didn't. It's impossible to tell if he didn't see that linebacker, or to me, he just thought he could float over his head, and his lack of athleticism just took over and just made that ball go flat, and it just fell right to the linebacker. That was terrible, dude. Like that.
It really was terrible. And honestly, it could be either. It could be either. And this, all right. So, for example, one of the reasons why, Zach, if he's healthy, he's definitely the starter, is, Zach has that ability that, like, and this is one of the things that the staff like to brag about with Darnold is, like, sometimes, like, your ability to make throws when you don't necessarily have the best mechanics and stuff. Like, some guys just have that God-given ability and others don't. And Flacco, like, yeah, he's tall and everything, and he's not a horrible athlete, but he's not the one who's going to be making, like, great throws like that from, like, unconventional standpoints and stuff. So it could have been that. And he also might not have seen him. And that's kind of bad if you're not seeing him. Like, I mean, like, he's almost a 15-year veteran. You have to see a guy like that. It's not like he completely came out of nowhere or anything like that. Like, you started scrambling to the right, and yeah, like, he kind of drifted off at the last point in time, but you had to know that he was in that area and that he could possibly drop off. So anyway,
yeah,
I didn't see the all 22 because I don't have access to preseason all 22. I know you know this, obviously, but I'm saying this to the people there, so it's hard for me to say whether or not I think he did for sure see it. I don't know.
Yeah, I just uploaded that. And in the review,
it was bad. It was bad.
I was like, I'm hoping that he saw him and his body just didn't let him throw that, because that's better than him not seeing him and just throwing it right to him. Michael Carter was wide open, and all he had to do was float it and lead him, and it'd have been a wide open catch for a good chunk of yardage. But unfortunately, Flacco is just probably one of the least athletic quarterbacks in the league, if not the most. And the thing with Flacco is, like, you listen, like, I think people almost are hyping him up too much. Like, oh, Wilson's injured. Flacco's going to come in, revenge game. Flacco is a average at best backup quarterback. Like people are hyping him up like he's a top 5-10 quarterback. I disagree with that. I think there's some other guys out there that I'd rather have
in the league.
The list. Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow, who's hyping him up that much?
There are people out there who thinks he's a good, legitimate good start or backup quarterback, like top 5 and all that stuff. Just stupid people on Twitter.
You know what's funny? So the Jets tweeted out that funny clip, or put it on Instagram, where he was in like the pre-CBS production meeting with Iron Eagle and stuff, and he was telling the story about how his kids make fun of him, like, "Oh, Dad, you suck," or whatever. So then I clicked on Joe Flacco's Instagram handle, and I completely forgot that he had a brief stint with the Broncos. And then I remembered, oh yeah, he was absolute dog shit with the Broncos.
Yep.
Granted, they didn't have a good roster there, but he was he was bad when he went to the Broncos. No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. So now moving on to, I guess we'll do the running backs again. We'll fly through the position groups and kind of overall thoughts. I thought a pretty generic game for everybody. Breece Hall didn't really have a lot of running room. He did break one really nice run to the right side on a wind back that I remember. Carter made the most of nothing on a few runs. He also had the fumble, which, unfortunately, he's trying to kind of contain or regain his balance. Arm goes out. When arm goes out, naturally his elbow goes out just to brace himself for impact. When his arm goes out, obviously that takes the ball off of where you're supposed to be carrying it, like tight to your body, pops out, the ball gets punched out. So he kind of obviously kills what was a pretty long drive there for the Jets, or at least a decent drive for the Jets, turning the ball over. Zonovan Knight, I thought was fine. The long run he had was more of the offensive line than it was him. But as you'll see in the review, Kyle, he does a really good job just noticing inside penetration. When he notices that inside penetration, he just flattens out his angle a little bit more to avoid that penetration. And then as he pulls through the hole, he does that whole thing where I talk about that light near leg and pulls his leg up away from the defender. And then he follows his blocks for a good, like,
so he learned something from Michael Carter?
Maybe. Yeah, no, maybe. So he had a good game. Ty Johnson, not much of anything. Tevin Coleman had a nice run that I deleted for obvious reasons. Nice patience, but running back group overall, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were solid, but I'm curious. You started talking about Michael Carter when he had that fumble, and you could see that Saleh was so visibly upset by that. Did he cough the ball up last year? I'm trying to remember an instance where he fumbled last year, and nothing's coming to mind. Do you remember any time when he did?
No, nothing I can remember. There might have been one or two that obviously in an entire game or entire season we're forgetting though. So, yeah.
I remember when Tiki Barber said something about the Jets a couple weeks ago, and we were dunking on him. One of the comments that I made was about how he had very poor ball security. But the Jets have been, I guess, pretty blessed with like some good running backs that have been able to hold on the ball really well. And I'm mostly thinking of Curtis Martin. He was so good at not coughing the ball up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, dude, it sucks when you cough the ball up, and so I don't know. Hopefully Michael Carter can be great in that regard. But I guess the running backs are solid. But dude, Ty Johnson, I know we're gonna get into this more. Why the fuck did they keep him? His third down ability.
Oh, dude, yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Certain people just need to be called out at certain times. So past that, Kyle, running back to tight end. Nothing too much from Cager. Nothing too much from Yeboah. Like, remember, Wesco had a few nice blocks in this game. Obviously, the Jets cut him, and he gets claimed a league high, I think, 5 times. But he's awarded to, I forget what team it was.
Bears.
The Bears. Past that, Rucker, relatively generic. Conklin had a nice catch. Uzama had a catch. Conklin
I think Yeboah had a drop, didn't he?
That was last game, I believe. I don't think it was this game. But the thing, I had one problem with one of Conklin's routes, which we'll talk about. It was a similar situation where remember Cager's play last week where they had like that clear out with a choice route underneath. Similar thing this game where they had a clear out with Uzama and then a choice route underneath with Conklin. And Conklin in that situation needs to just speed cut to the inside. He breaks down a little bit too much and lets the defender get back in on him. So he needs to run that with a little bit more pacing and understand, okay, I'm in space. Just cut to the inside. I don't need to break down like a square cut because the guy's not on me in man coverage. So there's little things like that he can clean up. But overall, nothing really standing out too much from the tight end group.
Looking forward to seeing the breakdown of that route.
Mm-hmm. Past that, I guess we can go receivers. We're doing the skill positions next. Anything stand out from the receivers for you, Kyle? I'll throw it to you first.
it's tough when you're asking me these questions, and I know somebody said, I think it was Christopher, who was saying that I'm making excuses. I mean, like, I'm telling you, I don't have all 22 yet, so like I'm just watching it just as I would watch a regular game, and and then I'm waiting to watch Blewett's breakdown of it, because he does have the all 22 for preseason games. So, I mean, it's a little bit harder for me to say in terms of evaluation, but in terms of, I mean, I think Garrett Wilson.
I still feel bad about that, Kyle. I'm not gonna lie. I can't. Just,
dude, how it is. Dude, you don't need to feel bad about that. I mean, like, it's the way that things work.
I was saying it to be polite. I don't really feel bad.
Okay. Then you remind me that you can be an asshole.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. I mean, Garrett Wilson, I feel like he's had a pretty strong preseason in terms of the games. I feel like he brings an extra level when the games turn on. Let's see some other receivers. Why don't you tell me, and then I'll comment, because you might bring some things back to my memory, because it's been like a week since I watched, or not a week, but several days since I watched the game.
A big ass spider on my wall.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's okay.
Wait, you smashed it with your hand?
I don't have a napkin. I'm not gonna let it run. Oh, it's okay. It's just my hand. I'm not gonna put my hand in my mouth, at least on camera. So with that, the Elijah Moore, nothing much. He put his head down, gained a couple of yards. Cool. Corey Davis, nothing. Garrett Wilson, nice adjustment to that one ball that was tipped. Braxton Berrios had the one nice catch and yak. Braxton Berrios is going to be, I think he's going to get more snaps than some fans initially think in the beginning.
I got a question for you about that play. That was just from watching on the live copy, that to me seemed like one of his more impressive plays in his young career. But do you put that more on the defender from having like poor technique, or do you put it more on Braxton Berrios for like making a nice move there?
No, I don't think the defender took a terrible angle. I think his athleticism took over.
That's what I kind of thought too. Honestly, I thought that was like one. I mean, like, he's had several nice plays in his career, no lie, but that was one of the better plays in his young career from a receiving standpoint. I was impressed there.
Yeah, I agree. Which, by the way, I saw this question. We get back to the chat right after offense, and then we'll get to the defense. Then we'll go into the roster cuts. But somebody asked about, where is it, Kyle? That right there. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. I guess it's some type of scratch on my camera, but apparently there's gonna be it's like you have a floater in your eye. I have floaters. I don't know if you have floaters, but I have a couple of floaters, and that's kind of just what you see in your eye all the time. So it's like you have floaters now. But with that, Braxton Berrios, nice play. Dude, Calvin Jackson, like I legitimately like him. There's another really nice corner route to win the game, and then also the play where he draws the PI right before that corner route. He does a really good job. He uses a shuffle technique, chops through the receiver's arms to stacks him, and then Chris Trevler, because he typically like fades back when he's throwing, he doesn't always step into his throws. The ball is a little bit of a lollipop, and then the cornerback has to make up ground to Calvin Jackson and gets the PI. So really nice play there by Calvin Jackson, and then follows it up with another corner route for a touchdown to win the game. So good play by him. Jeff Smith had the nice play with like that. With the Jets
I would say that there's a decent chance that Calvin Jackson could be signed to the active roster at some point this season.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Jeff Smith also had the play where he ran like that scroll route that they call it in the Jets offense, like that 3-step scroll route. Anticipated a safety hitting him, and that's why he grabbed the ball, tucked it quick, and backed up because he anticipated contact, but the safety sucks, so he wasn't there. And then past that, the number one stud of the game was Denzel Mims. Like, the guy had a really good game. The touchdown catch was really good. And if you go back and watch like the slot fade he ran week 1, and then go back to this game and just compare them side by side, to me with this game, Kyle, maybe I'm crazy. To me, it all but confirms like Mims, it's a mental thing, because when he turned it on mentally this game, he went off. Other games, he looks like he's kind of dogging it, or like the one time he runs a slot fade, he just gets ran right out to the sideline, didn't do much with his release. There was a play this game where he used a really nice release to the outside to just threaten the guy to the outside, to hold his hips outside, gets to the inside, uses a peek technique as he breaks inside. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Catches the ball with his hands, and then the freaking touchdown catch on the slot fade. He does a really good job on that route too, and he actually beat the defender worse than you think he did. But there was a defender who was, I think, in coverage on Ruckert, so he couldn't maintain like his like more vertical route. He kind of had to bow it out a little bit, which let the defender catch up to him. But still, nice catch, good job getting his knee in bounds. So this game, to me, I really do think it's just, and I think a lot of people think this, so I'm not going out on a limb here. but it's clearly mental with this guy because he wanted to show out this game for other teams. He showed out, and maybe he hurt himself. Maybe the Jets were like, okay, we'll take a fifth. He showed out and like, shit, maybe we should take a fourth, and now he's stuck on the roster. So what'd you think about the receivers overall? Then obviously
that's a good point.
Denzel Mims.
Yeah, he's an enigma for sure. He's very difficult to figure out. I'm almost wondering, like, so he goes out there, he and his agent, and he demands a trade or requests a trade. And all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just going to go out and show all the other teams what I'm made of. And he goes out and balls his best ball that we've seen in well over a year. I mean, it's like, did it took that for you to get up to another level? I mean, not the fact that you're a second round pick and you haven't lived up to the hype. I mean, that didn't like, why all of a sudden you turn it on and go to another level? Like, I don't get it. Like, so I don't know. Is it a confidence thing? Like, and the reason why I say is it a confidence thing is because, okay, you finally went out there and said, you know what? I believe like I'm a starter in this league and you're not playing me as if I'm a starter. Send me to a team that's going to make me a starter. And like, he's like finally speaking out against the coaching staff in that way, in a sort of way. So like, is like, he's showing his confidence now. And like, I mean, so I don't know. It could be like a confidence thing, but it's strange. I'm glad that he's still on the roster though, truthfully. I mean, like if they can end up getting, if they could have gotten a fourth for him, I probably would have been, I guess, happy with that. I
would take a fourth. But fifth, at a fifth, I'm like, at that point, I'd rather just take a risk on his talent,
Yeah. But like, when you see a game like that and you were level-headed, you were saying a couple minutes ago that sometimes you cannot be level-headed. Your tweets about him this past Sunday were level-headed because there were some people that were out there saying, well, this is the Denzel Mims that we drafted in the second round. It's like, actually, it's not, because we have a whole body of work. Just look at his whole last season that says that this is not likely to be replicated. But it does show the talent. So, but yeah, I mean, like, who knows? Maybe a trade offer will pop up. I don't think it will. So, like, listen, if Corey Davis goes down this year, which there's a decent possibility that he could go down for a couple of games, Denzel Mims, you got your chance to step up, and we'll see what you got. But
yeah, listen. It's not like the guy has earned it and he's just getting stuck on the bench. Like Mims has to have some type of self-awareness and realize how shitty his year was last year. And if he knows to and maybe he's just like a narcissist, but like maybe he can't recognize that he's not trying in practice or learning the playbook or whatever. But like the Jets coaching staff, like even a couple of weeks ago, Saleh came out and said something like Mims is much farther along in the playbook than he was last year. But they mentioned Calvin Jackson and praises him for knowing the entire playbook. So Calvin Jackson just got here, knows the entire playbook, but Mims doesn't know the playbook. But again, listen, I'm rooting for Mims. I want Mims to be a stud, best receiver in the NFL. But enough with this freaking with the excuses for this guy. He got food poisoning. Does not mean he can't study a playbook. I don't give a shit. Like the food poisoning stuff is like, I get it's a hindrance to his, I guess, whatever, his movement forward in the offseason last year. But he doesn't know the playbook this year because he got food poisoning a year ago. Like, come on. Like, so people need to chill a little bit. He hasn't earned a starting spot because when he played last year, he either dropped the ball or got penalties. I know he was only in for a couple of reps, but still, like I hate the Mims excuses. But with that being said, Kyle, we're just trying to be honest about players. I want 53 players plus the 16 practice squad players on Jets to absolutely kill it. We're Jets fans. We want a Super Bowl, but the Mims excuses are tired. But with that being said, obviously, he's been a little bit down, not learning the playbook, oh my God, the Jets signed receivers. I'm so sad. Like, again, toughen up to me. That's my opinion, is what it is. But then he goes out there, and another team maybe want me. Maybe I'll turn it on and frickin' and play well and, attract those teams, which, again, is kind of crazy because he has a 3-year sample size or 2-year sample size. Nonetheless, if Mims can just do this every game, he'll be receiver 4. Like that's exactly this is what he was in 2020. This is what he was at Baylor. But
in today's NFL, that means you're going to play a decent amount. And dude, once you get on the field, if you're getting open, right? Quarterbacks are going to see that on film, and maybe they didn't go to you so much in the first week that you played a decent amount of reps. But then they see on film, oh wow, Denzel actually got open a decent amount. I'm going to start looking at him more the following game. And they start going to you more. And then if you actually catch the ball and make the plays, you're going to start getting in the offense even more. You know what? Let's take Corey Davis out on this series. Let's give him a break. Let's put Denzel in. You know, dude, you got to earn it. So, well, we'll see.
And the thing with like people like, oh, he doesn't need to learn every position. Okay, well, what happens if you have a check or you're hurrying up and you go into a different play and oh shit, Mims doesn't know the play on this play. Now we can't run that play. Like you need to know all of the plays. If there's shifts, if there's not motions, but how the defense reacts. You have to know the different routes. If there's hurry ups, you have to know the different plays. Like you have to be able to click with how complex the scheme is. So if you don't know it, yeah, it's gonna be hard to play you. And like people, oh, he didn't get any chances this year. What? The coaches, and again, this is not the appeal of authority thing that Kyle always brings up. They see 95% more than we do. They see him in the meeting rooms. They see him in practice. So there's probably a reason. And especially again, you come out and praise Calvin Jackson for the playbook, but I don't want to get whatever. We're going to move past that because we've already kind of hammered that out enough. Raw Power is drunk. What's up, my fellow Jets bitches? Let's go win some effing games. Yes, I'm off and cocktailing. It's good. I wonder what kind of cocktails. What's up, Will? And like the Mims thing is, again, I'm rooting for him. The excuses are crazy. It is crazy. Like at a certain point, he just has to show up, right? Like, come on. Joe's on your camel end, yeah. Talk about Greg or Chaz Surratt, the linebacker from the converted quarterback to linebacker at North Carolina. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Jeff Smith played some quarterback in college. Let him run trick play. Yeah, I think that's the reason too that they like him is maybe he can run some of those trick plays.
I was waiting for one all year last year, and it never happened.
Verge Tibbs, Blewett, Kyle, and Nania, terrific trio. Looking forward to it. As am I. Nania is going to be joining us next week throughout the season. Pug Life finally caught Blitz live. Missed the last month or two. I appreciate you being here, Pug Life, but where the hell were you the last 2 months? Not a big.
Might have been the early start time.
Oh, excuses, Kyle. Flag champion. You know what it is. Robert S. The Jets will be able to do better evaluation now that he's on the practice squad. I guess you're talking about Strevler. And the thing with Strevler too is like, listen, he also helps team for those plays where let's say it's a read option or whatever, like he actually helps them maybe prepare a little bit for Baltimore where let's say if Mike White is trying to run some of those plays, maybe you're not as sold, you know, I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah, there is absolutely no replicating Lamar Jackson. And I mean, there is no replicating it. Even if you have Kyler Murray, it's not replicating Lamar Jackson running read option, but Strevler is much more closer than Mike White.
Yeah, for sure. So I think JD said Salah fought for Ashton. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
By the way, that was my 53-man roster prediction. You know, I definitely took the L on Chuma Doga, but I did take the W on that one. On your boy Ashton.
Oh yeah, we both predicted 11 defensive linemen though. We were on cue with all 11. Even though Curry might be going to the IR, but still he'll come back at some point. I'm just trying to find everything. I'm trying to just run through this stuff again. I used to get clowned by my Ravens fan friend in 2012 because Mark Sanchez was our quarterback, and my comeback was that Flacco is just as trash 10 years later. He'll be our starter week 1. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Flacco is always better than Mark Sanchez, but yeah.
Oh, by far. Keys to the Raven game. Stop the run. Yep. Containing Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Controlling tempo and clock. Yeah. It's pretty. I don't. That's good. Yeah. That's the key to every game, right? Control the clock, stop the run for the Jets, and contain the number one weapon.
I think the Jets are going to lock up these Ravens receivers. No Hollywood Brown. I am a little bit scared about Andrews, but dude, like whoever said the question about the 5 sacks earlier, I'm just saying like if the Jets start locking up these pass catching options, and Lamar's going to have to scramble around out there, it could be a long day for the Ravens. It could be a long day for them.
What's up, Alex?
Yeah, stopping the run. I mean, you know, how healthy is Dobbins? He's going to play, right? I know Gus Edwards isn't playing, but I guess we'll talk more about that in the future because it's not a Ravens preview or whatever.
Jets gang, who are the team captains this year? Maybe we should just make half the roster team captains like the Giants did.
I was like, what is this?
Yeah, I think
was there like probably, what 10 captains?
Yeah. It was like 4 on offense, 5 on defense, 5 on special teams. Like it was literally like 13, 14 guys.
That's crazy.
Easily. It was definitely
ridiculous.
Over 10. For the Jets, probably what you're looking at, like Mosley, Fant, Zach Wilson, maybe Elijah Moore, maybe Michael Carter.
I think you might see Quinnen finally get captain.
Quinnen. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
those are
he hasn't
probably
been a
the top
captain
names.
yet,
Mhm.
but I think that, you know, he's one of the longer tenured players on this whole roster here. He's coming into a contract year, you know,
Mhm.
giving him captain just for the sake of contract negotiations could be a little bit helpful, just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think he might get it finally. Carl
If
Lawson could be an option. Everybody loves
true.
him. Think about how
True.
much the team was sad when he went down last year.
If Mims gets traded, Jackson should be his replacement. I could see Jackson overtaking Jeff Smith too, to be completely honest. But yeah, I think
I thought he
Jackson's the
was.
next guy.
I've seen more from him than I've seen from Jeff Smith, truthfully.
Chicken Jenkins, Joe, Kyle, you two need to keep straining. somebody tagged me, and I think Joe Douglas said something about strain.
Dude, he did. I heard
know.
that too, and I feel like I heard Salah say it recently too. Now is everyone saying this?
Marcel Harris
And dude, I mean, listen, I generally really like Salah's energy and stuff, and I do think it vibes well with the players. I'll say this: when you keep losing, eventually that energy, that rah-rah stuff doesn't work so well. What do you think about the whole 60-40% thing? To me, it's a little corny.
Yeah. Listen, like if you give it all your all, do you really still have 40% left? Probably not, or 60% left. Probably not.
I mean, maybe that works with high school teams a little bit more. But I mean, listen, these guys are motivated by millions of dollars. Like,
yeah.
Do we need to do the little bullshit slogans and stuff? I don't know.
I think that's probably like a little bit true. Like you have, I'm gonna forget his name. I don't want to bring up the example now because I'm ashamed to
describe the person.
Guy getting shot multiple times. I think in the book he's Marcus Luttrell in the fuck's that movie with the Taliban, the whole thing where he all of his guys died in the Navy SEALs.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Sorry,
you didn't watch that? Okay, nonetheless. He was saying like he got shot multiple times, like fell down cliffs, and like he would like draw a line in the sand and then just give himself a goal, like an obtainable goal, crawl past that line, draw another line in the sand, crawl past that line. He's like shot like a bunch of times with the ARs, which is a lot different than freaking a pistol. He had teammates who got I think his name was Axel, got like shot in the neck and was still fighting. It's like holy your neck with an AR, like with a AK-47. Like damn, like I can't imagine. Like that stuff goes through metal doors. Like I've seen AR rounds go through metal doors like this thick. So crazy, nonetheless. But yeah, so I guess.
Dude, I know somebody. I know somebody. I won't say who. True story.
Okay.
I think their neighbor was cleaning their AR, accidentally fired a round, went through their home into the person I know's home, through the wall, and then hit this person's wife in the back. And thankfully the bullet like missed any vitals.
I can shoot my AR through my entire house. It'll go through my entire house, all the walls. Yeah. Like I said, it'll go through steel doors like this thick. Really the only thing that's going to save you is like an engine block, but past that, doors of a car, there's nothing. It's engine block. That's about your best bet. That and tires. For whoever's running away from people with ARs, just engine block, tires. That's all that's got you.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it could go through a tire, but like with the pressure, it can misdirect it and send it around the tire.
Okay.
But Alex Hunt, do you guys remember last year Keelan Cole saying he was helping Mims find his competitive love for the game? I don't remember that. I remember
that does ring a bell. That does ring a bell.
I remember Keelan Cole being like super energetic and be like, "Yeah, me and Mims are great friends," and Mims be like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah, I remember Keelan's questions. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I like Keelan Cole. He's got cut by the Raiders too. Like I don't think he's on a roster right now.
He did have a disappointing year with the Jets, if we're being honest. So I'm not too interested in bringing him back.
For sure. I'm just trying to run through anyone else going to the Minnesota Jets game. I might be there, Jacob. It's
going everywhere this year.
It's a tough spot, dude. Like that game's a tough spot for me. I might be able to pull it off. I don't know. I'm really gonna try to do either Minnesota or Seattle. It might be. I'm leaning more towards Minnesota than Seattle, though. So Jacob, I might be there. Roadrunner, he's listening. Appreciate it. I don't know if I've ever seen you before. Boy, I don't like Sauce Ready. I smell trouble. I guess he's a Dolphins fan. I'm not necessarily sure.
Fins up.
Fins up.
I hate the Dolphins, man.
I feel like fins up would be like a dead dolphin, right? Like floating on its back and its fins are up. Like what I don't know what fins up means.
Yeah.
What is a fin up?
I couldn't tell you.
I feel like it's like the same thing as belly up, which means you're dead. So yeah, fins up. Let's see. Alex Hunt, I have my fantasy draft in a few hours and have the first pick in the 3rd round. Is that too early to take Breece Hall? In a redraft or in a keeper league? Maybe not.
I guess it would depend how big the league is.
In a completely new draft, 12 teams. No,
are we doing 16 teams again in our league?
It was 18.
League?
It was 18. It was 18. Now we're doing 16.
Now we're doing 16.
We'll probably cut it down to like 14 next year and then 12. We'll probably get to 12.
It might not be too early, honestly. I think the thing with Breece is what percentage is he going to share the rock with Michael Carter? I have no doubts that this running attack is going to be pretty good in terms of how the offensive line is going to block it up and what the scheme is. I don't have any doubts in Breece as a talent, but I mean, he is a rookie, but which is actually a good thing for a running back. But how much is he sharing the load with Michael Carter? That's the biggest concern I have with him. Versus like someone like Derrick Henry, he's going to get 70 to 80% of the carries on his team any year, something like that. Whereas, some teams have something like that versus, so anyway, but dude, you can take Breece Hall pretty early and, I don't think you could be too disappointed in that.
Yeah, sorry.
Especially for me, like, dude, I mean, like when I play fantasy and I'm not a great fantasy football player to be truthful, but, I always like taking Jets I believe in because it makes it easier for me to root for my fantasy players when they're on my team. So, but unfortunately, if we're looking at over the last 10 so years, the Jets have probably had the worst fantasy players in the NFL. I mean, maybe the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, we got to move on though, Kyle. Definitely, we're already far behind. But I was aggressively texting my painter because my painter was supposed to come afternoon and he's coming now, and obviously I can't talk to my painter right now. But we're knocking out walls, putting windows in walls, changing the floor, changing tile, or doing everything right now. So
are you gonna have an open concept?
Yeah, we're knocking out the wall from the kitchen to the to the living room. So
everyone does that nowadays.
What's up, Buffalo Jets fan? Appreciate you being in here. Moving on.
It does make a big difference, though. Really does.
It also lets us put an island in the kitchen too, without the wall being open. It makes it a little too small with the island. But nonetheless,
you don't cook anyway. You just order shit. McDonald's at 4 a.m.
When I'm drunk, yes. Moving on. Defensive line, not too much. Bryce Huff. I'm sorry. Bryce Huff had, I think, like almost 10 pressures. Was one of the studs of the game for me in the film review. Absolutely killed it. With that being said, would all of his technique work against starting NFL tackles? Maybe not, which I kind of go over in the film review, but still a really good game. Quinnen Williams had a few really nice plays. Tanzel Smart had the one nice play. I don't know. Was it Tanzel Smart? I forget if it was Tanzel Smart. He hasn't followed up necessarily his first game, but Quinnen Williams was a stud. Bryce Huff was a stud. JJ actually had a nice rush or two, which he had a pretty quiet preseason, but this game I thought was his best game, which is a positive. He could have got the one sack. He just took too flat.
Did Jacob Martin play?
Jacob Martin played. He got a pressure. I highlighted that in the review. Past that, Nathan Shepard, no, not really too much off the top of my head.
Okay. Why don't we move on?
Yep, linebacker. I'll do linebacker quickly. CJ Mosley had a nice run stuff. DQ Thomas, not too much. You know who had a really good game, Kyle? I'm fine admitting it because new information comes. You'll see it in the review. Sherwood balled out this game.
Okay, good news.
He had a very, and there's a play where I specifically bring up, and you can picture it in your head. And it actually happens twice in this game, but one example, it's absolutely perfect. So you have both Hamza and Sherwood. They're both mugging the A gap, or sugaring the A gap. Okay. And you see Sherwood pre-snap notice that there's two receivers tight split to his left, and he's in man coverage on the running back. So he looks at that split and says, "Oh shit, I can't be tight here, obviously for traffic reasons, right?" So he backs up to be able to take a better angle to the running back. And then you see the quarterback. I'm assuming the quarterback noticed that. The running back then gets flexed to Hamza's side. Hamza never checks his side. Traffic, boom, running back's wide open for a catch. I'm like, dude, Sherwood did did what you're supposed to do. He also did that another play. Really good recognition on a drive crash, or a drive concept where he drove forward, couple of nice tackles. So Sherwood actually had a really good game. So I was impressed with Sherwood this game. Past that for the linebackers, not much off the top of my head, but definitely big thumbs up to Sherwood. I almost put him in my stud this game. I was definitely impressed with his mental processing.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I predicted him on the 53-man roster as opposed to Hamza. So it's. I mean, if you watch both their college tapes, you are immediately more impressed with Hamza's talent. But I think that from the mental standpoint of the game, it's one of the reasons why the coaching staff is higher on Sherwood.
Yeah, for sure.
And you hope that by him moving to linebacker as opposed to playing safety, his athletic deficiencies don't show up as much.
Yeah. He also had a nice play in the run game where he was pretty patient and slipped the block and got on the tackle. So I was impressed. I was impressed with Sherwood. Again, past that, not impressed with Hamza, DQ, nothing. Safeties. Jordan White had a nice stuff. Pinnock missed 2 tackles, so wasn't overly thrilled with him. And Tony Adams, Kyle, none of us really talked about
your
him.
Your boy.
Yeah, dude.
He's your boy now.
I guess so. It's not like he's.
We didn't even mention this guy. I don't remember mentioning him at all.
You know what happens, Kyle. You're trying to get a film review out. You're watching the players you think are going to make the roster. So when you notice 22 Adams make a play or not make a play, kind of just like brush it over. I'm not going to throw that play in there because it'll be a 200 play review if I do everything. So I went back after they signed him, after some pressure from Buffalo Jets fan and other people on Twitter who were saying like, "What the hell, Joe? What are you doing? Like, we need a review on this guy." I went back and watched all of his snaps in preseason. I'm impressed. I don't know if you want. Maybe I could run through. I don't want to run through a couple of plays and break them down. I literally just did hours of breaking down film, but maybe I can pull up.
Maybe do one to tease the audience as to why they should join JetsXFactor.com.
I'm definitely not gonna actually like do it, but I'll pull up the plays and just show them. I guess while we talk, I'll just share the whole.
Okay, that works.
But I was impressed. I didn't think he was necessarily gonna make the roster.
Okay, so while you pull that up, this is what I was saying to you pre-show. I mean, like, so some people were wondering, why keep Tony Adams over Pinnock? Somebody was saying like this, I can't forgive the Jets for this. Pinnock was not good at safety. I mean, like, listen, Pinnock's best attribute, and we've said this before, say it again, coming out of college, was he had some really nice skills in press coverage, right? Like the way that he could press with one hand and then shift and jam with the other hand once he got into phase was pretty damn good. He kind of looked like a boxer at times, but he would get lost in coverage. He would get lost in phase trying to track the ball, and sometimes he'd get beat on really deep routes. So you can see why the Jets would move him to safety. But literally, the only good skills that he really had, that you really saw in college, he doesn't have those at safety. And he looked absolutely lost in coverage all the time at safety last year. Yeah, maybe he had some. People said, well, he had some nice run stuffs, and that's why he got good PFF grades. Okay, well, I mean, like, if he's going to be my free safety, I'm not necessarily looking for him to be good at stuffing the run. And then he missed 2 tackles in this game, so you can see why they cut him. And in terms of if you're going to keep Tony Adams versus Philly Will Parks, Will Parks is like 29, Tony Adams is like 23. So if the young guy is doing everything you asked for from the playbook standpoint, he's got the athletic upside, he literally balls out in all the games, it makes sense that you'd keep him too. This is a young man's game. So I'm looking forward to watching what you got on him.
Yeah, no, he does a good job in the box. Like and a lot of what I'll talk about in the review, which you'll notice, Kyle, and what I'll talk about is he does a really good job in the box, like playing both sides of over top of combo blocks. He doesn't commit too early. He's really patient, really trusts his eyes. Once he confirms where the running back is going, shooting, making that play. Man coverage, you know how I harp on people staying square. He does a good job staying square in man coverage for the most part. So in my opinion, you're looking at he's right here. You're looking at a guy who could play both in the box, high, and a guy who you could see him take some slot reps. So I think he may be the backup slot corner as well. So again, I'm just highlighting some plays and I'm kind of going over him with my cursor here, just showing you some of the good of Tony Adams that I go over in the entire film review. But I was definitely impressed by him, and I'll read you his strengths and weaknesses in a second too, if you guys want to hear that. Again, with that list, understanding that it's a 3-game sample size, I watched about 80 reps of Adams. And in general, I was impressed by him. But with that being said, I like a bigger sample size to really nail down a list of strengths and weaknesses. But I did go over, or I did write down at least something just to have a generic feel of what this guy is. And there's some weaknesses there. Maybe opening his steps up a little bit too early in some incidences. He can leave his feet a little bit too early as a tackler. But there are plays which we'll talk about, Kyle, which I'm not sure if you can pick this up really quickly. But right here, the communication, hedges his bet, good angle to cut off the receiver, which I go over for minutes in the film review. But I actually really like what they get or they're getting from Adams, where I legitimately think he's probably the third best safety on the Jets. I'm not just saying that because he's here now. His preseason was the third best of the safeties, just like generically, stating that. Now, in terms of his strengths and weaknesses, I wrote down a list. I'll give it to you guys now. You're supposed to really, I guess, technically be a subscriber. Again, this, I didn't really formulate it really well because I went through it really quick. I did the review in like 2.5 hours, maybe it took me. But speed, acceleration, his breaks on the ball. He played some cornerback. Pro day numbers were really good, averaging out to a 9.6 RAS score. Physicality, good eyes in deep coverage, stay square in man coverage, understanding of deep coverage assignments, patient in off coverage. He gets his shuffling in off man, aggressive in taking on blocks, quick hands, and just in terms of shooting to stack guys, aggressively sheds blocks, gets hands on in coverage, click and close in run game, plays over top of blocks well in run game, playing multiple gaps, breaks down to tackle well, versatile. Now, some of his weaknesses, can play a little bit off balance. You can see him miss a couple of tackles because he's nippy. Didn't miss tackles in preseason, but it will show up.
What do you mean by nippy?
Nippy, like ankle diving,
okay,
and not necessarily closing that ground. Balance is off at times. Again, leave his feet early as a tackler. Needs more active feet in off coverage. They can get a little bit stuck in the sand. There are times in coverage where he reaches for contact, throwing himself a little bit off balance. And then there is times where I want to see him weave versus shuffle. Talk about that a lot in my reviews. And then there are times in man coverage where he looks back to the quarterback too often. But in general, I was impressed. I was going to this film like, this guy's going to suck. I'm not going to get why they're keeping this guy. And all those plays and more, I break down in much greater detail. So I was happy that they kept him in. Or we'll get into that later. But he had another game this game where he flashed some plays. Past that, corner, Sawston get targeted again. That's great. Isaiah Dunn, I thought he's not on the team anymore. That PI was bullshit. It was uncatchable. And he was looking back for the ball. It was mutual hand fighting, whatever.
Yeah.
Anything else from corner, Kyle? I can't really. DJ Reed didn't play. Sauce, Isaiah Dunn. No.
Michael Carter II had a pick.
He had a pick. Good job just understanding his assignment on 3rd and 11, playing in a softer curl to flat. He sees that there's the tight end breaking from the opposite side of the field. He starts to close ground a little bit to that tight end, but he doesn't want to close all that ground because he knows that there can be something behind him. So he kind of leverages himself over top of that route, then follows the quarterback's eyes. The quarterback's hallway is pointed to the inside, not towards the tight end. He notices that, drops back into coverage, gets the pick. He didn't bait him. He saw the hallway. But a good play by him.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I just talked a lot, but it's okay.
It was good though. It was good. We got to know a little bit more about Tony Adams. And I saw somebody say that is Adams going to play, backup safety and also backup slot cornerback. And I think that, I haven't seen nearly as much as Joe's seen so far, but just based off of that little bit that Joe did show us, I think that part of the reason they're keeping him is he does have a little bit of versatility, and could you potentially see him, getting down and playing some slot corner at time, Joe? Is it possible?
Yeah, he did it. He did it in college. Would I prefer him over Guidry necessarily? No, but I think.
But the thing is, you're not going to put Guidry back at safety, though.
No. He has the versatility. Now, did they cross train Eccles? I don't know. Reed is not doing it, but I could see him filling that role, not for a long, sustained period of time, but you want to put him at slot corner to cover a slot receiver 5-6 times in some games, maybe because there's an injury, something like that. Yeah, he could do it. He could play high, he could play low. He's versatile, so I definitely like a lot of what Tony Adams offers. So I was impressed. I was like watching a film, and like usually I'm not like smiling when I'm watching film. I'm usually like, what the fuck assess. I was watching like, damn, this guy is actually, he has some potential for UDFA, showing his eyes that he did in coverage and stuff. I was pretty impressed. But let's get.
But that's what good teams do. Good teams identify talent late in drafts and even undrafted free agents.
Yeah.
The Jets haven't had a ton. Robbie Anderson sticks out. Bryce Huff's another one who's sticking out. But I mean, dude, like if you just look across the leagues, the teams that are consistently good year in, year out, Packers, Ravens, Steelers, right? Like I'm talking about teams that rarely have big losing seasons. They always get late round talent and even undrafted guys. So, I mean, dude, I know that we're going to get into it relatively soon.
Mm-hmm.
Top 25, when I was doing it, and I put it together like 2 weeks ago because we were supposed to do it a couple weeks ago and we didn't because of scheduling conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
But immediately, like once I started to like really get down the list, I texted you and I was like, yeah, this is so much better than last year, the roster. Like I felt like the top 25 guys that we had this year is a lot better. And then even like if you look at like the bottom end of the roster, and I think that it's indicative that the Jets had so many guys claimed on waivers. I mean, I think it was like between pre-cuts and obviously the final roster cuts was like 11 guys who were claimed on waivers. I mean, I think I saw that somewhere.
I think it was 7 or 8, but 11 were like picked up. But like the difference in like wavered versus just signed to a practice squad. I think it was 7 or 8 were waiver claimed to the active roster.
Okay.
Then 3 or 4 other guys that went to practice squads or something like that. But nonetheless, it was the most in the NFL in years. Which does that say that the Jets can't evaluate their own talent or cutting good players? Or
that was the Michael Lombardi tweet. Yeah, I saw that.
It's kind of true. But he's being a dick. But no, I think the Jets you can compare the Jets roster to any other roster in the league in terms of their depth. Their players like 20 through 53. What the Jets are lacking right now are a couple of those 4 or 5 superstars to carry them over to the next level. Now, Q could be that.
Yeah, you look like a team like look at like the 49ers or the Rams, 2 teams that were in conference championships. I mean, like those teams have like several guys that are like top 20 players in like the whole league. So like the Jets don't have like some of that top heavy talent. And then again, coaching and quarterback as well. You know,
need the coaching, you need the quarterback, you need the Donalds, you need the Ramseys, you need the Chases, you need the Bates. Like with the Jets, I think Elijah Moore could be that. I think Quentin Williams could be that. I think Garrett Wilson could be that. I think Sauce could be that. But do they have a true bona fide superstar right now? The Jets don't have that on the roster.
Sauce will be. I'm willing to bet big money on that.
Okay. Let's get to the rest of the chat and then we'll get to the 53-man roster.
Every week I'm saying that.
No. I'm just as the host of the show, I'm just trying to move it along at a pace.
By the way, your hosting skills have gotten a lot better. I mean, they're always pretty good, but they've gotten a lot better.
Thank you. I'm just trying to move along so we can allocate enough time to the things that need to be allocated to. You know, not the Browns and fantasy football, Kyle. What's going on, West Coast Jets? I think West Coast Jets is in our fantasy league, so I am ready to wax him this year. I'm bouncing back from last year. I had injuries last year, and in an 18-team league, if you want one injury, you're fucked. So it just did not work. I wonder if
what injury did you have? Who got hurt?
I don't know. I tore my never mind. I'm not gonna say that. I wonder if Lamar will have an off game with his contract.
I'm still pissed at Eagle. He literally took Jamar Chase 1 pick before I was about to take him.
I think I nabbed somebody before you in our fantasy league this year too. But I'm happy with my.
Well, someone took Daubs a pick before I was about to take him.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait to see Clemens. Let me just see. People talking about spies and stuff on Lamar Jackson. It could happen, but nobody's going to be a true 1-for-1 spy on Lamar Jackson. He's going to destroy.
I mean,
them,
I'm on a given play here or there, but all game no.
JR, you don't have your notifications on for YouTube. At least maybe not push notifications, but we went an hour early because there's just too much to talk about. There's way too much. Alex Hunt, Adams should be 33 for the. I thought about the same thing because everybody would wear their Adams jerseys and they're cool. Like we can use these again, but does he really want to be known like that? You know, I'm sure he wants to rock 22, his own number. Now with that 33, Kyle, I might find a way to duct tape like the bottom of the 3 and then like draw a little loop with the 2, like duct tape it, you know, maybe rock it once or twice. You never know. So what's good, Nick? What's up, Sneakers to Boot? Again, I'm sorry for the people who haven't been here, but we've been live since 5:03. West Coast Jets. Let's see. if is Joe Campione, Kyle, I'll throw this to you. While I sift through the rest of the chat, is Douglas safe if Wilson doesn't improve?
If the roster's still really good and the Jets end up, winning a decent amount of games, absolutely, yes.
Even if they don't win games, Wilson sucks this year. They win 5 games. Is Joe Douglas on the hot seat?
Hot seat, yes, but fired, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think depending on how it all shakes out, Douglas, I'm not hitching Joe Douglas to Zach Wilson. I think there's a realistic scenario where Joe Douglas is here and Zach Wilson's not here.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Process versus results. I've agreed with a lot of his process and who he's drafted and who he's signed and what he's done and what he's done with contracts and what he's done with trades and what he's done with waiver wire pickups. At the end of the day, quarterbacks, no matter how good of an evaluator you are, unless it's a generational talent, it's a dart throw. So can you blame him for Wilson not working out? Was it a bad pick? Did he reach for Mac Jones? Did he reach for Trey Lance? No. Wilson was the consensus number 2 quarterback. You can argue Fields, but it's not like Fields is blowing up the league right now either. Obviously not aided by the Bears and their terrible organization at this moment. But it's not okay. He's hitched to a quarterback because it's hard to land that quarterback. West Coast Jets. It's a 16-team league, not 18, but we cut it down. Joe Nelson. Have you all done any homework on this Tony Adams kid at safety? Joe Nelson, take that little red dot on the bottom of your YouTube and just scroll it back about 10 minutes, and then you're good. That's all I gotta say. Sluggo, players are young, athletic. The onus this year on the coaching staff. Can they make in-game adjustments on defense to stop the bleeding? Yeah, it's the defense has a lot of pressure for sure. But I think Sluggo is one of the ones who always shit. Dude, the hairline. Listen, I can't help this Widow Peaks, people. I know a lot of people will get me on about it, but I can't. There's nothing I could do. I'm
you could shape it up more often.
How do you shape it up if my hair is longer?
I'm saying get haircuts more often.
It's still going to be there.
No, Kyle, not if your barber uses a straight razor.
You know what, Kyle? At least I'm wearing a shirt that has a nice collar. Yours looks like you might I don't know, live somewhere in the swamps of Bama or something. I don't know. Looks like you're sweating. Maybe you're just working outside all day in the garden. I don't know what's going on. Chris, I think we're $3 million over the cap right now. That'll change, I'm sure. Joe Nelson. Yep. Scroll back 10 minutes. I also have a review coming out. Also go to my Twitter, JoeRB31. I put up probably like 10, 11 plays. Not with much explanation because I have to give you a incentive to go and watch it. But yeah, it's there. It's already done. Sneakers and Boots, it's out there. It's recorded. It's just got to be put up. I think I'm going to push it to the front of the line for, whatever, for just how kind of on the mind of some of the fans of this show are. It's on people's minds, so I want to put it out immediately. So it's going to be out probably the next day or two. Neil, what's up? Top 25. I'm really excited, Kyle. Need fabric softener, Kyle. Joe gets a flat top son hardcore. Holy shit! Call up in the chat. Yes. Okay, so now we're gonna get
last week. Everybody's raving about my shirt, and everybody's getting on me today about it.
You figured, listen, the expectations can't be too high. I really got to fuck it up this show to wear a shirt that should probably have been thrown out in 2015, Kyle. But with that being said,
I don't know who's talking. Look who's talking.
What's wrong with my shirt? It's perfect.
I'm not saying your shirt tonight, but let's not always act like you're dressed to the max.
I got the glasses ready. I got the sauce chain ready. We're all set up over here. I got 2 bottles of water. We're good. We're good. So let's get into the roster. Let me drag this little screen that way. And even though I know the roster, so Kyle, let's just go through. There's not too many surprises, and we already there are some surprises. Let's be real, but we don't have to hammer it too long because I do want to give us enough time to hit the top 25 because, again, I absolutely love talking about the top 25. It's always my favorite show. We're not surprised Zach Wilson made the roster. We're not surprised Joe Flacco made the roster. Are we in any way, which we already kind of discussed, surprised that Mike White made it over Shrevler?
Not really. Mm-hmm. No. I mean, we both picked him. And it really wasn't even a big conversation last week. We're like, hey, listen, if we're running the roster, we're going to take Strebler, but we think that they're going to take Mike White. And that's exactly what happened.
Like I said, I think we can move through this relatively quickly. But now with running back and something that Sluggo just mentioned, are you guys Are you guys glad we're keeping and running a fullback? I am. And that was kind of what I was looking at with the roster, Kyle, and we discussed it last week, was they're either going to keep one of Wesco or Bawden. Now, Bawden, I believe, is injured and not active on the – I think it might be on the IR, or maybe he's in. I forget exactly, but they need to carry one just for this offense. Now, if he is injured the first week, maybe they're running some more motions and sifters just to kind of create like holding that backside defensive end where they're not actually necessarily kicking a guy out or leading a guy, but maybe there's a lot of misdirection where they're holding the backside defensive end or holding the backside linebacker. I think that's how they're going to get away from it, but they do need a fullback in this offense. Obviously, look at Juszczyk, look at all these teams. So they were, I would get, and by the way, the thing with Tony Adams is, I was going to say this before, I forgot though, just reading through the chat. I was pissed I didn't watch him enough in preseason, because if I did, I 1,000% would have called it and looked like a genius, and I was pissed at myself that I didn't watch him enough. Nonetheless, it was a guarantee that they were going to keep one of Wesco or Bawden to me. They kept Bawden. Listen, again, Wesco is not great, but there's a reason that he had a league high 5 claims. Like he's a solid blocking tight end. He didn't make it. So, really, is this true?
I saw that comment too, and I was like, huh, I did not see that.
I didn't see that either. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Hold on.
Maybe he's right. If so, they'll bring in somebody who's going to block. Verge Tibbs, I'm currently wearing a dingy old T-shirt in solidarity with Kyle. It's my pajamas, though. JK, you're the man, though, Kyle. Don't let him off. Don't let him off.
I love Verge Tibbs.
Grove Pete's got my back. You're killing it, Joe. Kyle is being held back by the homeless guy T-shirt. Moving on to running back again. They kept Bawden's not technically on the roster right now, but he's on some injured list. He'll come back, but right now they're keeping Breece Hall. Not a surprise.
I don't think it's season-ending IR for Bawden. I think it's short-term IR.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that either. So I think Michael Gray might be lying to us. That's what Alex Hunt says. Maybe I don't know if he's talking about him, but nonetheless, Breece Hall, not surprised. Michael Carter, not surprised. Now the next two, Kyle, Zonovan Knight, we both predicted he'd be on the roster, which you had to eat a tiniest bit of crow on that. Not really a lot, to be fair. But Zonovan Knight, now, was his preseason great in terms of him running the ball? Not really. He had the one play for the touchdown, drove his legs, cool. Nothing really crazy in terms of those plays. The one nice run this game, cool. I think he was kept for the fact that, okay, he could be a little bit of like a power back, but not like a true power back, and his special teams ability. So I'm glad they kept Zonovan Knight. The next guy, Ty Johnson. Tell me why, Kyle, because I don't get it.
Yeah, that was definitely a surprise. Yeah, I mean, with the thing with Ty Johnson, I mean, he's definitely gotten a decent amount of playing reps over the last couple of years with the Jets, but it's not really warranted. It's mostly just because out of necessity late in the 2020 season. And last year, obviously, didn't have Breece Hall, and Tevin Coleman missed a good amount of games. But, I mean, the dude's not good as a pass protector, which as a running back, you're going to need to do a decent amount of that. He's not really good in the run game. He might have had like 2 receiving touchdowns last year, and he's had some good yak on some of those receiving touchdowns, but I mean, he's not that good, like even as a receiving back, and he's had a couple of drops in there and stuff. This one's surprising for sure. Out of all the players you mentioned so far, that is the most surprising name. I was legitimately surprised when they kept him.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that, Square Peg. So
what does Square Peg say?
Go to Jets content here. Props,
thank
appreciate you. That. Even though my back hurts a little bit because Kyle's T-shirt, I'm just trying to distract people. So with Ty Johnson, Kyle, but he's a good third down back there, right?
No, that's Jay Doozable.
So
I saw you dunking on him.
And this is the thing. So like this is something that there's 157 people in here plus me and you. Now there's 154. About 150 people in here. We can all agree that Ty Johnson is not a good third down back. We all see it. He can't catch. He can't block. But because he's fast, and again, I guess being lazy, Doozable comes out there and says, oh, well, they kept him because of his third down ability or his ability as a third down back or whatever. And that is a perfect example of these players who don't put in the work, who don't necessarily always know football outside of the positions they played, who just rest on their reputation. You cannot tell me he's a good third down back. So why is he saying that? Is he doing the work? If he did the work, one, he has no idea what he's talking about with running backs, or two, he's putting an opinion of a guy who he's clearly never watched before. So, and this is something that we can all agree with, where it's so black and white, where he is a bad third down back. He's bad on third down. He says that they kept him because of that ability. So can we kind of carry that opinion over to maybe other things where he's saying stuff about players? Does he really watch? Does he really know what he's talking about? Probably not. So the Doozables, the Bart Scotts, the Tiki Barbers, all these players, can we stop putting their opinion on a pedestal until they show us that they deserve to be respected? I don't respect Doozable in any sense, because all of his opinions are absolute dog shit. He's a terrible analysis. He's terrible. But people are like, oh, dude, Ledger Doozable says this. He knows what he's talking about. Bullshit. This is a perfect example of why they don't. So it annoys me when you have people. It doesn't matter if it's Brett Coleman. It doesn't matter if it's me. It doesn't matter if it's Luke from Play Like a Jet who puts in film work. It doesn't matter if it's you. It doesn't matter if it's Andrew Golden, James Wighouse. The people put in the work. It's disrespectful to those people who put in the work for Doozable to come out there and say shit like that. Clearly lazy. It annoys the shit out of me when people just rest on their laurels. Dan Orlovsky, him. Sometimes they know what they're talking about, but clearly rest in their opinion. Sometimes it drives me nuts when people do that who are respected, because then you have guys like me on Jets X Factor who have to fight that opinion to hundreds of people who will say, oh, well, Ledger Doozable said, I don't give a fuck what he says. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It annoyed the crap out of me.
And the thing is like, I mean, people don't really have debates so much in the football world, but like, even if you and him wanted to get on and have a conversation with each other live, this stuff happens sometimes. I don't think he'd be open to it because, who is he? I played X amount of years in the NFL. Who is he? But the thing is if you actually did have a conversation with him, you have the receipts. You could easily pull up many examples showing that he is a terrible, he's a bad third down back. Definitely a bad third down back.
He's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Okay. Terrible. You want to use terrible? Fine.
Terrible.
Not good at all.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have those. I mean, like it does bother me when players say like, oh, well, he's good at this. It's like, okay, produce your proof.
Why?
Yeah.
If you asked people, 99% of people to produce their proof, Gonzo, hey, yeah, I'll get back. Oh no, well, generics change the conversation. So the whole former player bullshit it drives me crazy, because again, clearly guys know what he's talking about. Is what it is. I'm sure there's people who respect Doozable out there. Listen, if you want to talk about defensive line, sure. Assuming that you're also giving him the benefit of the doubt, assuming he put in the work, because clearly he's talking about running backs. He didn't put in the work. So does that mean that he's just resting on his laurels with the defensive line and spurts out his opinion? Just, oh yeah, 99% of people are going to respect that because I played defensive line. I played in the NFL. If you don't put in the work, I don't care. So there are some players out there who I'll respect their opinion. If they prove to me they put in the work. Ty Johnson, third down back, you don't put in the work. And there's been plenty of other stuff that Doozable said out there that I brushed his opinions off. I couldn't care any less. So then he talks about whether it be Jermaine Johnson, Quinn Williams. Yeah, you just like to assume that, oh, well, he knows what he's talking about. But did he watch? Or is he just saying something that he's heard from somebody else like 99% of people do? It drove me crazy to see that tweet. I hate that more than anything because people are misled. It's just the problem in our country in general, Kyle. We're not going to talk about, but Jesus, man, like at least watch 5 minutes of him on third down. Do something. Put in some type of work before you freaking throw your fingers on the screen and hit send. Like, damn, man.
Man, Joe's going off right now. Joe was in a good mood to start the show, guys.
No, I'm back. I'm back. I just hate Ledger Doozable now. Apparently, it's just lazy as hell. So
you don't hate him as a person. You just hate his analysis.
He's lazy. Sorry. But again, there'll be somebody in here who will, in 3 months, say, well, Ledger Doozable said, based on this, should we ever respect his opinion?
Well, I do believe that people can get redemption. I mean, listen, if Ledger Doozable wanted people to start taking him a little bit more seriously, he could start putting in more work.
Prove it.
Prove it. I believe in forgiveness and redemption. So
I believe in forgiveness and redemption.
But I mean, until he actually proves that he is putting in more work. Prove it.
Yeah,
not gonna uphold his opinion as gospel.
And then that carries over to a lot of stuff, dude. It does. Like whether it be a former NFL player, whether it be a former GM, whether it be a former scout, whether it be a Jets YouTuber, whether it be a Bills YouTuber. If you're stating an opinion, you have a following, you better be able to back up that opinion. And trust me, There are plenty of people I watch who say stuff and you ask them a question about it. And they're, change the direction of the conversation. I hate that. I hate it. It drives me fucking nuts. And God, and maybe it's just because of like, for me, there's hours and hours and hours of work. So then I see people who don't put in 2 minutes of work and they try to, and their opinion will hold more than mine. I'm like, what? But nonetheless, let's move on. Running backs, Ty Johnson. Why did they keep him? I have no idea. It's his third down ability. Tevin Coleman, dude, he's a better running back than Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson's not rosterable. Tevin Coleman could
have just been age and health.
But at
and
least
contract maybe too. It could have been a combination of those three things.
At least Tevin Coleman is a jag, which is more than I can say than Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson's not rosterable. Tevin Coleman is a jag. He's a decent third down. He's a decent third back, not a third down back, a third back who is probably the best third back or third down back just in terms of like his consistency with pass blocking, things like that. But I don't get it. To me, Tevin Coleman over Ty Johnson all day. I couldn't give two fucks less what the Ledger says. Sorry. Anything else to add?
Did you pre-plan going on this rant?
I did not. It just came out. I knew I was going to have something to say about it, but it really frustrates me, that stuff. It drives me absolutely wild. But as you can tell. So moving on, our good mood killed. People, I'm sure there's people. Oh, dude, you Doozable, tag Joe RB30, whatever. Again, show me the proof that he's a good third down back, Doozable.
Listen, sometimes Joe doesn't want to like actually criticize people and actually put people's names out there just for respect. But clearly, in this instance, Joe's not. He doesn't care.
No, he doesn't deserve. He doesn't deserve respect.
So if somebody wants to clip this and then reply in a tweet to Leger Doozable,
yeah, great. That's gonna start a whole fucking thing. So moving past.
Well, Joe does not want you to do that. Okay.
No, I prefer not. I don't want to give him the time of the day. Like, why? Then I have to respond to him. Then I have to go through my film clips. Then I have to tag him in a bunch of plays. And then like, it just makes it look like it's back and forth bullshit. Like that's my opinion. I would like for him to prove that he's a good third down back, because there's plenty of plays that I've seen, that you've seen, that 164 people in here have seen that prove not. So the burden is on him to prove that he's a third down back, which there's no way he'll do it, because clearly he doesn't put in the work. I'm sorry. With that being said, moving on to the wide receiver position, Kyle. Barrios, not surprised. Davis, not surprised. Elijah Moore, not surprised. Garrett Wilson, not surprised. Denzel Mims, we both predicted that he would be traded by this point, but if we could go into the future and say, hey, Mims is not going to be traded, we would both predict that he'd be on the roster. Now, I'm a little bit surprised. There's 6 receivers carrying Jeff Smith as well, but nothing overly shocking here, right?
Yeah, no, obviously keeping Jeff Smith is not shocking. He's been on the roster for several years now, including with this staff last year. So it's not shocking, but a tad bit surprising, because I don't think he really deserves to be on the roster.
Yeah. Again, just for me, listen, like I predicted 5 linebackers. If they're going to keep 6 receivers and not 5 linebackers, only 4 linebackers, either way, is the 6th receiver better than the 5th linebacker? I'm not going to lose my shit over that one. But nonetheless, not overly surprising. I'm happy Mims is still here. Maybe he gets traded, maybe he doesn't. Again, Jeff Smith, I prefer personally Calvin Jackson over him.
I can't see him getting traded at this point. I think it would already happen. Teams want to start preparing, and listen, especially if Mims is a guy who's not very good. Like we just said it, I don't know, an hour ago, that Calvin Jackson picked up on the playbook quicker than Mims. So if Mims is slow to learn the playbook, if you're a team trading for him, you want to get him in the building ASAP before week 1.
You never know with injuries, though. Like somebody can get injured.
You never know with injuries, but okay. But injuries, we already kind of know what they are at this point. There's obviously going to be a ton more injuries after week 1. So, I mean, could there be a trade? Yeah, but I feel like a team would want to do it before the season.
Mm-hmm.
For reasons stated.
Yeah. No, again, I'm a little bit surprised with the 6, but nothing overly crazy. It's kind of it's the same group we carried last year, obviously, just in terms of like the depth guys. Like Smith was here last year. Okay, I get the comfortability. I almost feel like a douche after saying all that stuff, Kyle. I don't know. It's like I have like a sinking feeling in my stomach. I just feel like an asshole. But moving past that, tight ends, we expected it to be 4.
I don't think you're. I mean, listen. The thing is how often do some of these former players and stuff I remember Doozable getting into it with some fans on Twitter. Might have even been Luke Grant, actually, now that you mentioned his name not too long ago. I think he might have gotten into it with him over Jermaine Johnson before he was even drafted by the Jets. So listen, some of these players, they don't take any pause before they want to dunk on like a fan analyst too. So
Sure,
I don't think you should feel like a douche about it. Obviously Twitter is not the best place for a productive discussion. Listen, if he were really open to it, like an actual conversation like this would be much more productive. But again, I don't think he's down for that because, you might be beneath him, Joe.
I'm way beneath him. All of his opinions are gold because he played in the NFL a couple of years ago, because clearly he does the work. Uzama, Ruckert, Conklin, expected. We both predicted Wesco, I think.
Yes, we did.
Just in terms of a 12 heavy personnel team, 22, all this stuff, we predicted it would be 4 pretty much no matter what. Did I expect Cager? No, I expected it to be Wesco. With that being said, I said it was Wesco or Bawden. They kept Bawden. Wesco's gone. So if you're going to tell me Wesco's not here, would it be Cager as that 4th guy? Most likely.
Much more people have gone in the chat and say that Bawden is actually on season-ending IR.
Is he really?
Several people have said that in the chat since, and even the one guy who I'm forgetting his name. Sorry, man. The one guy who said that he said I retract my statement because this says season-ending IR.
Is it really? So what are they?
I haven't checked it myself, but I mean, based off of what people are saying in the chat, it does seem that is the case.
The only thing I can think of is if they're going to do that, which I don't agree with, is they're going to change your offense to have a lot more like lateral movement pre-snap, just like hold that backside defensive end, hold that linebacker out of gaps, and kind of not necessarily meet guys with force, but almost meet guys with like beating them by positional leverage and holding them. I still don't love it if they don't have a true fullback blocking type guy. Ruckert, people think Ruckert could fill that role. I'm not comfortable with him filling that role full time right now.
What's the plan for Cager? And I agree with you that I don't want to see Ruckert in that role early on. And Wesco certainly, I somewhat understand why they cut him because he left a lot to be desired in terms of his receiving game. But what's the plan for Cager? Like, let's say that he dresses up on any given week. Where are they going to put him, and what are they going to do with him? I mean, I'm honestly asking you because I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like you don't want him being a sifter on blocks. I don't want him as an inline tight end trying to block anybody.
I think so. So the thing with sifting is like I don't think you necessarily have to be strong to do it. It's more of technique and a want to. Like you just have to get in his way type deal. Like that JVR play double amputee from last year. It's kind of that deal. Like you just need to get in his way. So I think if he
it's not about creating movement. It's not about creating movement. We understand that.
No, so I think he has to do it enough to the point where they can actually fake it out to like one of those slide routes. So I think that's the plan. Like put him in sometimes for seams, put him in sometimes for slide routes. But I for this offense, I like guys.
I mean, Saleh did have that one line where he said that he came from being a slow receiver to a fast tight end. So is it just about, okay, let's run him on a slide route, and then he's got some speed to actually turn up the field. Whereas Wesco, dude, he was a plotter out there. I mean, he could run a dude over. He could run 2 dudes over on any given play.
Yeah, and
he could always fall forward. But if you're expecting him to catch a ball and then turn it up on the sideline, he was so slow.
He broke 2 tackles in the the.
No, I'm saying he can shed dudes off him, but I'm saying like in terms of him like actually like, oh, let me turn this into a 15-20 yard gain up the sideline. He didn't have that kind of speed to kind of turn it around. So like, okay, putting Cager in the seam.
I can see him doing that. He's big. He's good at contested catches at in college, so I can see that. But I'm really interested to see what his role is going to be this year. That's something I'm definitely going to focus on. Again, I expected one of Wesco or Cage or Wesco or Bawden. It's neither now apparently. So, to me personally, I prefer they bring in somebody else. I don't know who's out there. I'm not looking at fullbacks, whether it be like. Where the hell is Ben Mason from a couple of years ago? Like they need somebody there. In my opinion, like is one of, let's say they have to go ISO or they have to go like Mike zone or any one of these plays. Do we trust Rucker? Do we trust Cager? Do we even trust necessarily Uzama or Conklin to do it as consistently as we want? No. So, and then Igor is saying Baldwin's coming back. I thought Baldwin was coming back.
Personally, myself, in terms of stuff I read, it seemed like it was short-term IR.
Igor is saying short-term IR. We gotta sort this out. Nonetheless, let's move on though. Let's move on to the offensive line. I'm sure the chat.
Do we have to do it right now? I guess it is pretty important, but
the chat will sort it out. I'm sure somebody's gonna send a freaking article or something. Somebody needs to figure it out for sure though. Offensive line. We have the 3 tackles, Dwayne Brown, George Fant, Max Mitchell. We have the interior of the offensive line, which we predicted, Kyle, right? We have Laken Tomlinson, Connor McGovern.
You got mad at me. This is the only thing that you really gave me shit about was I thought Herbig wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, it's just a mistake. It's okay, Kyle. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, just like you made a mistake with Ashton Davis saying he wasn't going to make it.
For some reason,
your boy
AVT is not listed on the website I'm looking at now, which I'm not going to promote them now. But you have Laken Tomlinson, you have Connor McGovern, you have AVT, you have Herbig, you have Feeney, you have Mitchell, you have George Fant, you have Dwayne Brown. All the names we expected. With that being said, Kyle, another move that has to be coming. Listen, maybe it's because they never have faith in Becton or whatever. Going into the season with Max Mitchell as the only tackle to back up this on this roster is a massive mistake for me. And while, with that being said, I like Max Mitchell for a 4th-round pick. I think that in preseason, he's actually been pretty good. For him to be in the only backup position, because listen, if betting people in here, are you going to bet on both Dwayne Brown and George Fant to play 17 games? Absolutely not. So Max Mitchell is going to have to come in for a game or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe even 5, maybe even 17 like it was last year with Morgan Moses. He is not ready for that. They absolutely unequivocally need another tackle before the season starts to me.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't think that Herbig was going to make it. Not because he's a bad player or not a good backup, but I thought that tackle was a bigger need. And being that the roster is pretty solid top to bottom, he was a tough cut for me. Hence why I think he didn't make it. But they need to do something with tackle, and I think that they will. How could they not?
Thank God McDermott's not on this team anymore. Thank God. I'm sorry. Cool moment last year with the touchdown catch, but the worst backup tackle I've ever seen in my entire life. He's so
really bad. And so you were saying last week that I don't know why they're so high on him. So he spent some time with the Bills, and my brother was telling me that he was always everywhere with Josh Allen. And whenever Josh Allen went anywhere publicly, McDermott's always by his side. And I think that McDermott's kind of one of these guys who I don't want to use any profanity, but anyway,
his knees have some dirt on them. Is that what you're talking about?
Sure.
Okay.
That wasn't exactly what I was thinking, but something similar. Anyway, So I feel like
his nose is
maybe part of the reason why staffs are a little higher on him is because they see him as being a good teammate, a team first type of guy.
Yeah.
Which, if you look at his play, it's not as good as his teammate skills or whatever.
Listen, anyway, day, Kyle, if we're obviously friends, if you were protecting me and I was the quarterback and you sucked, I'd be like, listen, dude, you got to go. I'm sorry. Business is business.
Chris, is true. And he will get you killed. He would
Chris
get Zach
in the
Wilson
chat
killed.
Says Salah has been quoted that Max Mitchell is further along than they expected. He also praised Jason Pinnock a lot, and now he's on the drive.
Yeah, what was his line for Pinnock? He said that he's got an insane level of talent or whatever, or he's a freak. He's a freak.
Yeah. So while it matters, like while you might factor that in for a guy as bad as McDermott, you're not just like, I'm fine with you backing up our tackles because you're a good guy. You consistently have that dirt on your knees. You consistently have that brown in your nose. I like that. So I don't think that's how it works. I think it has something to do with it, but not necessarily enough to carry McDermott onto the roster. So the number one need on this team, Kyle, while I'd like to see them add a safety, while I'd like to see them add a linebacker, you cannot go into the season with just Max Mitchell as your backup. It would be a blatantly obvious mistake to me. That would be one of those ticks on Joe, or one of those ticks against Joe Douglas for me.
So who gets cut? Who gets cut? All right, let's say they bring in another tackle. Who's the cut then?
Jeff Smith. It's fine, easy, boom,
yeah.
Get out of here. You can't. That's along with tight end last year, with quarterback last year, backup quarterback last year. That would be another severe mark against Joe Douglas, in my opinion. I don't care. Max Mitchell could be far along, great. You need another tackle. Brandon Shell, Eric Fisher, Darrell Williams, and people are going to say, "Oh, Brandon Shell, what are you talking about?" Brandon Shell, one, has improved with the Seahawks apparently, and two, there's a difference, and I always say this: there's a large difference between a bad starter and a bad backup. He's a bad starter. Shell, from what I know right now, would be a pretty good backup. So him, Fisher, whoever's going to be, is better than not having anybody. So they need to bring in somebody else. Kyle, let's go to the defensive line, the defense in general, because we have to get to the top 25 shortly. So not many surprises.
By the way, that's considering that he did improve in Seattle. Because if I'm being honest, Shell was definitely better than what we saw from Chuma Edoga with the Jets, but it's not like he was light years better than what Chuma Edoga was with the Jets. So considering he actually did improve in Seattle, which again, that's your statement, not mine. I don't know.
Defense, we both said 11. We have let's see. This website sucks. Why am I even on this?
Yeah, why are you?
Nathan Shepard's at the end, according to CBS. What is this?
CBS. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. It just came up. So Quinn. I'm just making sure they counted this right, to be honest, because they didn't even list ABT. Quinnen Williams, Sheldon Rankins, Solomon Thomas, Nathan Shepard, Jacob Martin, Carl Lawson, Bryce Huff, John Franklin Myers, Vinnie Curry, Michael Clemens. They're missing one.
Well, we thought that Jonathan Marshall was going to make it, and he did not. He's on the practice squad.
Right? I think they're missing one on this list. Dude, okay, I got to back out apparently. This website blows. CBS, you suck.
Use Our Lad's depth chart.
Yeah.
The site's a little annoying because of the formatting and all the ads and stuff, but it's much better than what you just had up.
Format. Yeah, so I guess we'll do it off the top of my head. So you have Quinnen Williams, you have Solomon Thomas, you have JFM, Nathan Shepard, and Sheldon Rankins on the interior. We both projected 5 defensive tackles. I believe I said Jonathan Marshall. I'm not sure if I had Jonathan Marshall or
we both
Nathan
did.
Shepard.
We both did. We both had Jonathan Marshall.
Are you sure?
I know I did. I'm 100% positive about that, and I'm like 90-something% sure that you did.
Let me see. I'm gonna pull up my list from last.
I remember there only being a couple little disputes that we had. Herbig was one of them.
Yeah,
Edoga was another one.
I said Marshall as well. So I'm not broken up that they kept Shepard over Marshall. It's not like Marshall lit up the preseason or played really, really well where he deserved that spot. I would personally prefer him. I would prefer in this order.
I prefer him over Nathan Shepard, no doubt.
I would prefer Smart and then Marshall and then Shepard. Did either one of those guys in Marshall or Smart play so well where I'm broken up about them not making the roster? No. They like strain. That's all they say. Shepard has strain. He's on the team. Is what it is. Hopefully it's his last year on the Jets because I don't think he really does much well.
I think I'd agree with you. When you initially said that a couple seconds ago about Smart over Marshall, I was like, well, the upside. But then I started thinking about all the problems that we had on the interior in terms of run stoppage last year. And I feel like Smart can give you some of that, much more so than Marshall, at least this year. And with Marshall, in terms of him as a passer, he's got such a long way to go that, I don't know that it's worth keeping him over Tanzel Smart, who I feel like would give you at least some run support when you need it.
Defensive ends, we nailed, Kyle. I know Curry might be on the IR, short-term IR, whatever it is. But it's Lawson, JJ, Clemens, Martin, Curry, and Huff. Any one of those guys is
it's pretty easy to predict that, though.
Dude, the Curry hate is crazy. Like they didn't see him last year, so they completely discount like how good of a pass rusher he is. Now, is he freaking Nick Bosa? No, but Curry in a limited role is a good player still. Like I know he's old, but he's effective. So, and he's a leader. Just like we were kind of talking about with McDermott, Curry actually kind of carries some weight because he actually can play. McDermott can't. So people are like, McDermott's like, oh, do this and that. And people are like, what the fuck? You ever watch yourself on film? Can you shut the fuck up? Just get, please get that dirt on your knees, please, and just stop talking. Start breathing through your nose. So, past that,
Joe started off in such a good mood.
we have
it's been all downhill.
I just talked about dirt on your knees, and now we have nude XDHYZ best adult dating site. So we need to get rid of that. One of the moderators.
Yeah, Mike, take care of that.
Someone will take care of it. So past that, Kyle, linebackers, I expected 5. You predicted 4, so kudos to you. Mosley, Quincy, Quan, Sherwood, not much surprises. Typically, you see 5 or 6 linebackers, at least 5, but they didn't really have the talent to make it there. Delshon Phillips is what it is. He signed with another team. Hamza is back with the practice squad. Hamza has a long way to develop, so it is what it is. I'm going to move to safety, Kyle, just to keep time, keep it moving. Whitehead Joyner, we both expected it. I predicted Parks and Pinnock, completely wrong. They kept Davis and Adams. Adams, after watching the film, again, rewind about an hour where we talked about Adams. I think Adams is probably the third. I think he is the third best safety in the team right now because I can comfortably say I'm more confident in him than Ashton Davis. Ashton Davis, explain it to me. I really don't understand. I guess because of his physical upside, but I don't know if you saw did you see the thing I put on Twitter? Like then, now, and in the future?
I did.
Like he's a terrible tackler. He's not good in coverage. Like what does he offer other than being fast and being able to do backflips? Like I don't get it.
I think some of the, well, first of all, it's the early 3rd round draft pick. So sometimes teams don't want to depart on it so early, but I think also part of it is, I think he's a very nice guy. Like somebody was saying it earlier in the chat that his story was pretty good. And, they were kind of going through some of that. I remember hearing a lot about that when they did draft him. I remember when I went to one of the Jets practices and my buddy who I was with wanted to see if we could, maybe get some players' autographs. So I was like, whatever, I don't give a shit. And Ashton Davis, some fan said to him, "Hey, Ashton Davis, I have your rookie card." And Ashton Davis kind of laughed. And he's like, "That's a first." And he came up and he was like willing to take pictures with people and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I think that they also think like he's a nice guy, good team player. So listen, if Ashton Davis wasn't an early 3rd round pick, he'd be cut. If he was a 6th or 7th round pick, he would not be on the team right now. But I think part of it is the fact that he was drafted so early because his tape has not matched up. But there is also the athletic upside. And I don't know. I think the whole range thing was kind of overblown a little bit too. Like, oh, he's had some really rangy plays as a safety in college. I think that was a little overblown, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's great to have the range, but you have to have the right eyes to take you to that place. So if
and he hasn't shown that at all.
No, not at all. So physical upside. Now, with that being said, Kyle, while I don't prefer Ashton Davis to be on the roster, is Pinnock so great? Listen, no. Last year, his completely overrated end of the year. It was actually bad. If you really looked at the film, it was a bad end of the year. This last preseason game, he missed 2 tackles. Pinnock was not good.
I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one because I said a couple weeks ago, everybody was hyping. You know what? Let me go on a fucking rant right now, and it won't be as long as yours. Weeks ago, everybody was saying, "Oh, Pinnock, he's had good PFF grades. The coaching staff's hyping him up. Robert Saleh said he's a freak." Listen, all coaching staffs are going to do whatever they can to not throw their players under the bus and praise them as much as possible, right? You don't want to be the coach that's an asshole or whatever. Maybe you can get away with that shit if you're Bill Belichick and you have 8 rings, including when you were an assistant. Pinnock showed absolutely nothing as a safety. Absolutely nothing. Okay, yeah, he had a couple nice run stuffs on Trevor Lawrence, who's a fucking beanstalk out there. If you can't stand up Trevor Lawrence on the goal line, then you should be out of the fucking league. Pinnock showed nothing as a safety in terms of coverage. He looked absolutely lost out there, right? So he was a position switch anyway, and he was a late round draft pick, right? So I said a couple weeks ago, I told you guys are going to be disappointed in Pinnock. He's not going to live up to all this hype. Same as Bless Austin. Bless Austin never lived up to his 80 PFF grades or whatever he got. And guess what? Pinnock got cut. All right, so I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one.
No, it's fine, Kyle. And that's the thing. Like, it's hard to fight against narratives because, again, the thing is, people saw him making plays on broadcast, but then if you actually watch and you try to do that for people, like you break it down, like, dude, he was so late to this play that he's lucky that the play was broken up and Lawrence threw the ball late and/or threw a lollipop that allowed him to make up that ground and make the tackle. He didn't do anything last year. It was bad. It was more bad than it was good. This preseason, he really didn't do much either. I was actually trying to find the play on the Tony Adams on the Tony Adams review where Pinnock misses a tackle. He didn't do much of anything. And listen, to a lesser extent, I like Will Parks. I like what he is in the locker room. Good guy, all that stuff. Is he a good player? No, I'm sorry. He practice squad, cool, but what did he do to impress anybody? listen, in the preseason, there. So I've been on this trend more recently, Kyle, where I'm like talking about expected plays. If you're in man coverage on the running back, Kyle, and you don't recognize he's breaking on a screen, that's a massive problem because you're looking at the running back. So you're going to close ground. Like, and the other play, he was in the curl to flat, and then he broke. Like, yeah, he's in the curl to flat, reading the quarterback. He sees the quarterback flip his body and throw the ball. He broke on the ball. Holy shit, great play. It's like, no, if he didn't make that play, it would be a bad play. Making that play was expected. Like, you have to rate the plays. Just because you make a tackle doesn't mean it's a good tackle. It's an expected tackle. So Parks didn't do much. Pinnock didn't do much. With that being said, would I prefer both of them over Ashton Davis? Probably. But people have their panties in a bunch about Pinnock getting cut. Show me the good plays that Pinnock made, because I don't know where they are. It is what it is. I don't know.
Literally, the only things I can think of is what people said in his run support in the Jags game last year, which, mind you, not only were the Jaguars the worst team in the league last year, but that game had so many players that didn't suit up because of COVID that they were playing like Jags. They were playing Jags on the Jags, if you get what I mean. So like he had, but what else did he do as a safety? I mean, like some of his pass coverage reps in that game were just absolutely god awful. And then think about, when he was playing safety against the Texans and he's falling over himself and giving up easy touchdowns. I mean, it was bad. Yeah.
And like I said, I see Matthias Simon, I take Pinnock over Davis. So would I, just because Pinnock has physical upside. But with that being said, in no way did he earn that spot. And Sluggo says, kind of hard on the secondary, aren't you? Hell, they had to maintain coverage on guys for 15 seconds of pass play. So like, you gotta understand, like, there's no bias. There's no reason I hate these players. I hate hype that's unwarranted. I just hyped up Tony Adams. I just gave him plenty of credit for his coverage. So it's not like I just discredit everybody's coverage. I understand what good coverage is and bad coverage is. Pinnock had bad coverage. It just is what it is. And there is a play I missed somewhere in here where he missed a freaking tackle, but I don't know where it is. Whatever.
Joe, I'm curious for what your thoughts, and I know you want to make this quick. Igor says that Pinnock was not good, but he's admitting that, but he said that he was a better developmental player than Davis. Do you agree with that?
The only reason I would agree with that is because Pinnock's sample size is much smaller. So you'd think that Ashton Davis with a larger bad sample size compared to Pinnock's smaller bad sample size, that maybe he can turn it around, where Ashton Davis has given you plenty of bad years. So yes,
that's fair.
That's the only thing I can think of. But so let's move on. Corners, we have Sauce, Reed, Bryce.
We missed
Hall.
on Guidry. Guidry was the only one we missed on.
So at the end of the day, we thought there was going to be 6 guys. They kept 6. I preferred it to be Guidry over Hardy. They kept Hardy over Guidry. To me, it's a mistake. Hardy, since he's been here, has not been a great special teamer like he was hyped up to be. And I personally thought he would be after doing a review. Special teams penalties. He had a missed tackle. I believe it was in the Falcons preseason game. Missed tackle on special teams. Offers you absolutely zero at corner. He cannot even play corner at all. Don't do it. So just a strict spot for Hardy, who's overrated on special teams. Give me Guidry there, in that spot, who is a good tackler, is fast, is a guy who could play gunner. I liked Guidry as a backup slot. I legitimately did. So
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Sorry,
earlier yesterday morning. Exactly what I was thinking.
Matthias.
What's the drop off between Guidry as a gunner versus Hardy? I don't think it's that much. But what's the drop off between Guidry as a slot corner versus Hardy as a slot corner? It's a lot.
Yeah, Guidry called some disrespect on Twitter this week. I'm not gonna lie. Like, people are like, "Oh, Guidry sucks." Guidry was solid in his rookie year as a UDFA. Like, I was impressed by Guidry to the point where I'm like, "Oh, I can see him actually starting next year." And they brought in Carter the second. I was like, "Okay, I get it," but I still like Guidry. So I don't get that more than anything is the cut I do not like. I do not like getting rid of Guidry. Now, Wesco, whatever. Guidry getting cut is definitely my number one. Like, what the hell? Ty Johnson making the roster is probably like my number 2. What the hell? But moving on, we have to give ourselves at least an hour for the top 25. Defense or for kicker, obviously Zerline, Mann, Hennessy, expected. Kyle, I'm going to go through the practice squad really, really quickly, assuming this website is also working or good. But let's run through the practice squad. Guidry's on the Cardinals, huh? That sucks. Wesco. Oh, I could read that actually. Let me do this. The guys who were claimed: Adogos to the Falcons, Guidry's to the Cardinals, Delshon Phillips to the Ravens, Wesco to the Bears, Pennock to the Giants, Dunn to the Seahawks. I like Dunn too. I wish he could be back on the practice squad. He actually had a decent game this last preseason game. Wild Goose to the Commanders. Also not a bad preseason. The Jets practice squad, Kyle. I'll read them off. We can go through it. Just general thoughts. Chris Trevler. Okay, cool, right? Irvin Charles. I like the play they had in the last game where he broke like 2 tackles to get to the sideline to get the to stop the clock. Good play overall. Not too much in the preseason. Tyreek Black, really like that. I like his size. Grant Herman's. I'll be lying to you if I said I watched him much in preseason. Kenny Boa, cool physical upside. Again, not the best tight end on the Jets roster. Not some stud. He had a long way to develop. Chaz Surratt, Kyle, is a guy I just based on where he was drafted, a 3rd-round pick, a guy who went from quarterback to linebacker, only played linebacker.
What year was he drafted?
It was last year.
Wow.
Yeah, last year, 3rd-round pick, a guy who was a former quarterback who was a good, like, he's athletic. Cutting him after a year when you knew well, obviously the Vikings regime changed, but you knew he was going to be a developmental project with high upside because of him being new to the position. So to cut him after a year is a mistake to me. So I really like the pickup of Chaz Surratt. Bradley and I, good for I like that. He had a good preseason. Again, I never thought he was making the roster because I'd rather have Vinny Curry. Jets brought in Chris Glazer. No idea. Jonathan Marshall, big thumbs up. I like that a lot. Tanzil Smart being there, big thumbs up. I like both those guys a lot on the practice squad. Hamza Nasruddin, also great add to the practice squad. I like his developmental upside. DQ Thomas, couldn't care any less. It is what it is. And then we have, a few more. Will Parks, cool. People like him. Maybe a little bit overrated by how he played at safety. Calvin Jackson, again, awesome. I think he's the first one to get called up from the practice squad at some point. Maybe you could see like Smart or Marshall.
I really hope somebody else doesn't scoop him up.
The last one is Craig James. He's a vet cornerback. I believe like he's on the Eagles and stuff like that. And Joe Douglas has had some ties with him. Special teams guy. So anything stand out largely before we get into the top 25?
No, I mean I'm glad that we were able to get the guys we did get back on the practice squad, and I wish that some of those other guys that we did cut weren't scooped up, especially guys like Guidry. But yeah, let's move on. I think we
Do you want to run through the chat really quickly before?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, let's catch up really quickly before we get to the top 25. People talk about the Baldwin stuff. I'm not really sure. Crazy to think the Jets will have 2 Pro Bowl linemen. I think
He's talking about last year, right? With Lakin and Dwayne Brown.
I think he would say crazy to think the Jets have 2 Pro Bowl linemen. I think he says will have 2 Pro Bowl. I think he's predicting that 2 guys make the Pro Bowl this year. That's how I read it. Right?
Okay, which ones? Which 2? You're not going to pick Dwayne Brown.
He's saying AVT.
He's probably going to say Lakin Tomlinson and AVT, I guess, right?
So for me, AVT, I think if he were to stay at left guard, he could be in the Pro Bowl this year. I think the move to right guard is going to hurt him a little bit, where he's going to get at that Pro Bowl level next year. That's just me. Ben Mason is on the Ravens practice squad. I appreciate that, so they can sign him. Do it. I don't know how he is in the NFL, but I didn't really watch his film a lot. Being transparent. See, you can admit it. I didn't really watch his film, Kyle. Is that fine to say? Holy shit. But hey, it is what it is.
But you keep telling me that what the hell is this Seahawks tackle? He's made an upgrade. He's gotten better.
I say that, but I also say based on what I've heard, correct? Not this is my concrete opinion. I watched every rep of him, like some other people would say.
Okay, that's fair.
Swing tackle is need number 1. My personal belief is that Fant is good but vastly overrated. I think I agree with the first part. Swing tackle is a number 1 need for me on this team right now.
I wouldn't say vastly overrated, maybe a little bit.
I think Fant is overrated at left tackle but underrated at right tackle. That's what I've been saying, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to phrase it.
So moving on. Don't believe anything that Salah says until it shows on Sundays. I agree. Like all the 60% stuff and all gas, no break is cool. Win some fucking games, right? Like and I can't.
Yeah, dude, he was talking real confident this week, right, about winning championships and stuff. Our process is too good. That's some big talk right there.
If they lose games and then they come out and say, "Oh, we strained." I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. I can't do it. Oh, Bryce Huff, thank you, Cameron. Our lads, Curry on IR. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to move through. We're about 15 minutes behind. I'm getting through the chat pretty well tonight. You guys are lighting up too. So, head nurse in charge. Yeah, Curry is definitely underrated by fans to me. Again, there's a review out there. It's probably an hour long. I severely doubt anyone's going to go back and watch it, but it's there. He's still, and obviously he was injured last year, but it wasn't like, oh, he
dude. If you're a Curry doubter, watch it. Like if you can't watch all the reviews, just don't have the time or whatever, watch that one.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what I saw from Vinny Curry.
So did I. And it's not like he
I'd have to pull
ACL.
it up.
Like he's a year older, but it was blood clots. You know.
Where did I have? Let's see. Anyway, continue with the chat.
You're looking at your top 25
from last year.
Sneakers and boots. I actually, for the first part of this, I agree with this. Think JD regretting not signing Larry Ogunjobi for plugging holes in the run. There was a lot better talent that was available previously. Shepard got pushed back in the bleachers and watches a fan. Now the thing with Ogunjobi is he's a boomer bust player both in pass rush and in the run game. So I don't necessarily know how much he would really help. Now would he be better than Shepard? Sure. But he received a pretty large contract. Now, would I rather have Ogunjobi over Shepard? Yes, but he's not necessarily a run stuffer. So keep moving on. But I agree. I think they regret not selling him. Now, I was expecting another signing because, hey, clearly they're looking into the position. So you go from Ogunjobi to Shepard? I don't know. Igor agrees with you about Pinnock. Let's see.
It is interesting how some players just really get hyped up and fans just get attached to certain players when it's really unjustified. That was one of them.
It was
and I'm not saying he's as worst of a player or anything like that. And I'm not even saying like his college tape was probably better too and didn't have the injury history, but he was the Bless Austin of this year in terms of the unwarranted hype.
With less of a bad sample size, yeah. Was Tart claimed? The Tart he's not able to be claimed because I think he has over 3 years in the NFL, so he's just a strict free agent. He's free to sign wherever. He can't get claimed. I was gonna say something. I forget what it was. Yeah, it is what it is. We have to sign a tackle, don't we? Only thing I could think of is we don't. Yeah, Sneakers and boots again. It's another thing. I in absolutely no scenario do I think the Jets take AVT to be a guard. They move the left guard. They move in the right guard. Hey, sorry, you got to play tackle now. I just can't see them doing that to AVT. Just let them stick at right guard. So
you want to talk about fucking up a player's development? You're really going to do that if you do that.
He's staying at guard. There's no way they're playing with tackle. If they do, it is a massive mistake to me. They got to just sign a guy. Mike, I saw this too. They cut Mond and Wyatt Davis in the AVT deal. Now it's just AVT versus Darrisaw. Yeah, I saw that. I'm surprised they couldn't get any. Like you couldn't get a pick for Chaz Sherrod. I don't know. Harold H. really likes a 53, except Davis, Ty Johnson, and Shepard. Knight would have preferred Tevin Coleman, Pinnock, Guidry, Marshall, or Smart. I agree with that all. Minus Knight. Well, you gave me 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 players. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, that adds up. Sorry. I mostly agree with you. I'm fine with keeping Knight. Oh, well, you gave 2 running backs, so that's kind of why it didn't really substitute. I would rather, yes, get rid of Ty Johnson and keep Tevin Coleman. Pinnock over, even though we just shit on him, I'd rather keep him over Ashton Davis. Rather have Guidry over anybody. But let's keep moving on. Okay, 1 hour ago, the Jets announced Vinny Curry IR. Marshall Harris re-signed 10 D-line, 5 linebackers now. Okay. Who are they playing at fullback? I don't know.
But we have Vinny Curry's short-term IR though, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it has to be. We have way too many defensive ends on the roster. On the team, someone's got to get cut. I don't agree with you, Chris.
I don't think so.
I don't agree with you.
They want that. They want that.
They rotate heavy, and tell me which player, whether it be Vinny Curry or Bryce Huff, are going to get cut for who? Like who is a better player than any one of those guys? There's nobody.
I'll tell you this. So my junior and senior year, I started offense and defense, and I also played special teams. I probably gained about at least 25 pounds from junior year to senior year. and I played all special teams, kickoff, kick return, everything, punt return.
Yeah.
About halfway through the season, my coaches took me off a lot of the special teams, and I'm so grateful that they did, because I was getting winded. And then I was getting winded and I wasn't playing as well on the D line, right? Like, you have to understand, when you play D line, you have to get through a big human being, in NFL, it's a 300-pound guy. You got to get through them in a little over 2 seconds and then still manage to get to a quarterback who nowadays is probably pretty athletic. You think that that's easy to do? You need to have so much energy to be able to do that in such a short period of time, right? So if you're winded, if you're gassed, it's really, really, really hard to do that. So it makes sense. Like, I don't have a problem with the fact that the Jets want to rotate so much. My problem is they wanted to do that last year and they didn't really have so much of the talent to do it. Now they added Jacob Martin. Now they added JJ. Now they added a Michael Clemens, right? So they're adding more talent now. You're getting Bryce Huff back. You're getting Carl Lawson back. So it makes more sense to do it now.
Yeah. So let's, where was I trying to, I just blanked out again. You're talking about Vinny Curry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the defensive line is the most taxing position on the football field. Every other position you can kind of take off a player too. Offensive line's tough too, but the defensive line, you consistently have to explode. You consistently have to stack a guy. You consistently have to pass rush. Where, like, corners, the play goes
sometimes
opposite.
You're sitting back there as a safety, and, like, let's say, like, okay, they run like a little bubble screen and, like, the corner sniffs it out and it's over. Or, let's just say, like, they run some inside zone and your D line eats it up before it gets anywhere close to you. Like, you could just sit back there sometimes and just chill.
Even offensive linemen, the run goes away. Sometimes they can take off a little bit. Corners, receivers, quarterbacks who just hand the ball off. Running backs at times who's, like, leak out. Like, yeah, it's still taxing, but defensive line is easily the most taxing. Igor says, when do you think JJ will make an impact? I think they're taking it slow with him. JJ was raw as a pass rusher.
I think you'll start to see him heat up a little bit towards the end of the season. The last quarter of the season, you might see him start to turn it up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, Kyle, we have to get into the top 25. Have to.
Okay.
We have about an hour left. So do you, okay, so one, I absolutely love doing this. Do you want to give some players who didn't make the top, like,
honorable mention?
Or do you want to do the top 25 and then give out the mentions after?
I think we got to mention it after, because if you mention them now, then people are going to know for sure that they're not on there.
It gives it away. Okay, Kyle.
All right. Well, and you should do this too. Before we start, I just want to say, like, what my process was for factoring this in, because it's a very imperfect system. It's not an exact science or anything like that. Okay. So this was the criteria that I used to factor in how I did my top 25.
Why didn't we consult on this criteria that you clearly wrote down? I should have signed something.
Well, because I knew that you were gonna. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I thought you were being briefed through text message. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that I'm sure that you might have something similar. I don't know. But here,
in that trailer in Alabama with that white T-shirt, you didn't have the cell service to send it to me. I get it. It's okay. Continue.
September 11th, we might have to have that wrestling match that we talked about right in the parking lot, Joe.
On the concrete. That's fine. Let's do it.
So I can slam your ass for all the shit you've been talking. All right. Good. All right. So point number 1, how good they are compared to other people at their same position across the league. All right. Number 2, positional value. That's a minor thing, but listen, I mean, like, obviously a quarterback is more valuable than a punter. So I had to factor that in.
Value at all, really.
It's so minor in mine, but I'll let you know a little bit why. All right. Number 3, how good they are right now. Number 4, how good they'll be by the end of the season. So it's a little bit of both. And I did also factor in very slightly, but injuries as well. All right, because that matters too, and you'll see why. All right. Anyway, so you should start with yours.
Can I say so Becton's not even on my list.
Okay. I felt like I had to put him on the list, but I had to knock him down.
Do you want to agree to that Becton's on the list and put your 26th guy at the 25th spot? Because Becton, he's not on the team this year. I didn't count him.
Okay, fine. We'll do that then.
Okay, cool. So, Kyle, who is
you do your 25 first. It's called Blewett Blitz.
Kyle.
Okay, fine.
Kyle,
all right.
You let me talk. It's okay. Kyle, who's your 25th best player on the Jets roster right now?
Okay, so 25. I swear these numbers are going to screw it up for me because now I got to think about. All right, so 25
space in your or in wherever you have it on.
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
Yeah,
So
it's probably easy.
25 for me is Bryce Huff.
Okay.
Okay. So what about for you?
You want to know the funny thing is, I don't even want to. I kind of don't want to give it away right now. I'm going to, because I'll just give my one. Bryce Huff is my 26th best player on the Jets. So we're one spot off. Me, my 25th best player on the roster, and like to me, it's also like, and I agree with most of what your list and how you laid it out. To me, it also, like, I try to factor in that while I'll say it like this: Jacob Martin's my 25th best player on the team. Okay. And I consider that, yes, he's a very good pass rusher, but you're not getting much from him as a run stop guy. So, like, yes, while he might be better as a pass rusher and his highs than certain guys above him, their consistency and me being comfortable with him starting for the entire game also factors into me. So, like, Jacob Martin, I love his pass rushing, but he offers you little to nothing in the run game. So for me, he's the 25th best player on the squad.
Okay, now, I know you love doing this, so I feel like we should have a little bit back and forth. But the value,
players, give me them.
No. But the value that gives to you, a guy who can actually get to the quarterback from the edge, and we haven't really had something like that in a while.
For sure.
Isn't that still worth him being a little bit higher? Even if, okay, he's not going to give you much in the run game, but you're not going to even be putting him in on downs when it's an obvious running down anyway. So you're putting him out there when he's going to be effective, and when he is out there, he is effective.
Okay. Yes. So while I get what you're saying, so I'll give you my 24 right now. My 24th best player on the team is Bryce Hall. So while to me the flashes of Jacob Martin are better and they mean more, would you be more comfortable with Jacob Martin starting in a full-time role as the end, or would you be more comfortable with, okay, Bryce Hall starting at outside corner for you for an entire season? To me, Bryce, eliminate the whole Falcons game. He has a bad game. Last year, he had a decent year.
I understand what you're saying, but you don't need to play. You don't need to play it like that, though. In the NFL, teams don't play it like that. So many teams have like a high rotation on the D line.
No, but to me, in my criteria, it's how much do you also play? Like, are you being taken off the field for a specific reason?
And I get it, and I get why you would do that too, because at the end of the day, if you're a guy who can only do one thing, you're eating up a whole roster spot. You do want guys who are versatile. So I get it.
Yeah. Dave says efficiency is relative to opportunity regarding Jacob Martin, but you also have to consider that it's relative to opportunity, but he's not given said opportunity because he's not a good run defender. So
and even when you do see him out there on rundowns, it's not that good. So
exactly.
There's a reason why he's not, and when he is, you can see why.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why he falls a little bit behind. So for me, again, Jacob Martin, 25th best player on the roster. Bryce Hall was my 24th best player on the roster. And it's also considering, yes, he's not going to see a lot of reps, but again, if he were to be starting, he could fill that role, not necessarily admirably, but he's a lower tier starting level corner who's our fourth guy right now. Again, obviously, recency bias is going to kill people's opinions of Bryce Hall, but to me, again, 24th best player on the team.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, hold on, Chris, Jesus, can we move on to 24? I don't know if you're being serious, but if you are, you can run your own show. Like, come on, man. We're having a discussion, but continue. Sorry. I went from a really good mood to now like annoyed.
Okay. So 24 for me is Quan Alexander.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to say who, what, when, where, why. That's fine. Chris, now we're going to 23 because let's just move on from that. I agree in the relative range he's at, but again, a little bit different for me. So moving on to the next guy, Kyle, number 23, which I think is probably going to surprise some people. Actually, hold on. My list is a little bit screwed up here. Hold on. Let me just backspace.
I bet you we might have the same 23.
Oh, sorry. So actually my list, I screwed the numbers got screwed up. I apologize. Huff was my 25th player. Like it skipped. Like there was no like 19, so I had a backspace. Huff was my 25th. Jacob Martin was my 24th. Bryce Hall was my 23rd. I apologize. Who was your 23rd, Kyle?
Jordan Whitehead. Now, I'll put a little asterisk next to this one.
Wow.
This is based on the 2 or so games that I watched of him, and I have not watched Blewett's review of him yet. Maybe it'll and I texted Blewett this. I said, maybe when I watch your review, my opinion of him will improve. And I don't think that this so much, truthfully, like, I don't think that like this really says like, oh, he's a bad player or whatever. Him being 23 on this list also speaks to, I think the Jets have a pretty good roster. So I'm not trying to sub Jordan Whitehead here.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. We'll talk about Jordan Whitehead in a little bit. To me, like, do you feel like Jordan Whitehead's like an average level starting strong safety? Like where like how do you contextualize him in comparison to his position group?
Yeah, I would not say above average. So yeah, I would say about average is probably about where he is.
Okay, that's fine. So moving on to my 22nd guy, which I think is going to surprise some people. People probably think a little bit more of him. CJ Uzomah is my 22nd best player on the Jets roster. Again, I think he's probably a little bit overrated by fans. I think he's an okay receiving tight end. I think he's a good run blocker. I think he's a pretty solid pass blocker, but he doesn't offer much truly in the receiving game. I think he has some good athleticism. I think he has some good size, some solid yak ability. But to me, like, this is where you're getting to that range where like you're looking at like slightly below average level starters. Like, to me, okay, Bryce Hall, slightly below average level starter. Uzomah, slightly below average level starter at the 22nd spot. So who is your 22nd?
22nd for me is Michael Carter II.
Wow. Okay, we have a big discrepancy there.
Wow, you think he's that much higher? I'm curious.
You're talking about where he's going to end at the end of the season. I think Michael Carter is going to be a very plus starting slot corner in the NFL. Okay,
and I don't know. I don't know that I disagree with that. I think he could be an upper level starter as well, but it's also, where's he at right now too? And I'm just looking at some of the guys I'm comparing him to, and it's like, could I honestly put Michael Carter II over this guy right now? And I have a tough time doing that when I look at the rest of this list.
Yeah, to me, like my how I quantified it was like
this.
Like,
there's one guy who we're going to get to in a couple spots, and I'd be like, I could definitely put Michael Carter over this guy, but I'll explain why when I get there. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's always hard to like discuss it without giving away what you're going to talk about in the future. But again, to me, I
like him a lot. I do like him a lot. I honestly was kind of surprised that I had him this low, but it's like, okay, but who am I going to put him over?
To me, it's like relative to their position group. Like, where do they, like you said and how you did it, like how they stack up to their, like, are they a below average starter? Are they an average starter? Are they a plus starter? Are they a plus starter? Are they very good? Like, that's kind of how I did it. So to me, that was your 22nd player?
Yeah.
Who was your 21st player?
Uzomah.
Okay. So we don't really have to discuss that. I have him at 21 or 22. You have him at 21. Mm-hmm. My 21st player is one Mr. Braxton Berrios. I don't know if you have him on your list. To me, I think he'd be a below average starting slot receiver in the NFL. Good gadget guy, a really good returner. But again, when you look at him in a full-time role, would you be sold with him as your starting slot receiver at this point? No. Could I see him developing into that? Sure. But at this point, I think he's a gadget guy, below average starting slot receiver, and a really good special teamer. So he fell at number 21 for me.
Yeah, I mean, shit. If I was valuing special teams more, he'd be on my list, but he's not on my list.
Okay, that's fine. Again, I think that he's going. I think he's. I think you could pass with him as your starting slot receiver, which kind of drops him on the list. But then again, you add in the special teams value and the gadgety stuff. I put him at 21. Your 21 was who again?
Uzomah.
Okay.
I'm almost going to guarantee you that my 20 is not even on your list. I would bet money on that.
I'm almost going to guarantee you that my 20 is going to cause a stir. So which one do you want to do?
I'll go first with this one.
Okay,
Number 20, I got Joe Flacco.
What? Really?
Dude, think about it. And so, all right. So
you think that Joe Flacco is a better quarterback than Michael Carter II is a slot receiver or corner?
Dude, I told you
no,
my criteria.
Kyle, no, this is as bad as a Herbert take.
Excuse me. I told you my criteria at the top. Now you're laughing at me right now, right? And you're thinking like, why do I even have this guy on for streams? He's just like an idiot. I can get someone better to do this, and maybe you can. But here's the deal. If Mike White was going to start week 1, you'd be a hell of a lot more nervous that we're going to lose that game. Would you not?
That has nothing to do with Flacco, though.
No, it does.
Kyle,
you can't tell me. Joe, is Zach Wilson on your list? You don't got to tell me where. Is Zach Wilson on your list?
Yeah.
Okay, he's on your list, but you want to talk about all this? Oh, is he a below average or is he above average according to his position across the league? That's one of your big criteria, right? Zach Wilson is bottom of the barrel right now in terms of NFL starters right now. So by your criteria, he shouldn't even be on your list. He shouldn't even be on your list.
No, you in your criteria, you just said where they're going to end up at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that's part. Yeah, so I'm saying that's part of it as well for me. All right, so but. Now, Joe Flacco, do I think he's going to improve as a starter by the end of the season? No, but where's he at right now, too?
You said so you think, dude, Uzama is so he's an average to below average starting tight end. You think Flacco is a below average to average starting quarterback in the league? Or you?
No, I'm saying that's not my only criteria, though. That's why I had like 5 different bullet points of what my criteria was, and I said it's not a perfect science.
Yeah,
I don't think that. I don't know. Flacco is obviously he's not even like average. He's nowhere close to average starter in the league, nowhere close, but he's serviceable as a starter, right? Like I'm not, dude, for so many years, the Jets had such shitty backups.
He's serviceable as a starter because relative to expectations for a
backup. And then, but you also have to factor in positional value too, which that's something I'm factoring in, which you're not.
How do you, so then,
but no, I'm confused. I'm confused. It's been a while since we got in an argument like this, Joe. I'm confused because
blown away that you have Flacco.
I'm blown away. Like, listen, you're telling me,
Kyle, the chat agrees with me. This is bad. This is
Alex
bad,
Hunt says 100% agree with Kyle here.
No, who?
Alex
you
Hunt.
Have one. You have one. You have one. Poll, you're going to lose 95% to 5. So then all the top position groups have to be offensive linemen, corners, receivers, DNs. Then
I said that positional value was kind of like a minor thing in my assessment.
Well, clearly it's a very big thing in your thing. If Joe Flacco,
when we're talking about winning games, Jets, Joe, I called you Jets. How much is Joe Flacco going to matter to this team when it comes to winning games? Right? Like, Joe, what if we had the best punter in the league, if we had fucking Ray Guy, would you put him on your list? And how high would you put him on your list?
We're ranking top 25 players, not 25 most important players to the team on this year, right? Like we're ranking the top 25 players like relative to their position groups. Flacco would be the worst starter in the NFL by far. Now he's better than Uzama.
Worst starter in the NFL by far? You think that?
Oh, dude, come on, Kyle. This is a bad one, buddy. I can't. This is okay.
I knew he wasn't going to be on your list. I knew it.
Chris is going to lose his shit that we've been on this for so long, so we gotta move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
But I'm sorry, that's a bad one. Joe Flacco. But okay, so after a really bad take, I'm gonna stir the pot even more. Zach Wilson's my 20th best player on the Jets. Nothing to do with positional value. Again, relative to their position groups. I said that Uzama is a below average to average starter. Same thing with like Breece Hall. I think Zach Wilson is going to be about average to a little bit below average. So that ranks him as my 20th best player on the Jets because that's how he kind of falls in his position group. People are going to give me shit for that. Is what it is. But he has a lot to prove, even to be average. So for me to put him at average to below average-ish on my list, I think that's plenty respectful for Zach Wilson for what he's proven at this point.
I won't reveal where I have him right now, but I will read what I wrote for him. When I started writing this, I actually had him lower than where I have him now. But I'm banking on his talent, his college tape, and his work ethic. If my criteria were based just where he is right now, he would be a decent amount lower on the list than where I have him. Zach Wilson, but I'll wait to get where I have him.
I put up a poll.
But I know, honestly, where you have him, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, again, I think we're at the point, at least in my personal ranking, where we're at about probably a little bit below average, but I'm fine with like I'm being real with Zach Wilson. Obviously,
when I first wrote out my list, I initially put him at 22 initially, and then I decided to change it and bump it up, thinking about I do think that you're going to see strides with where he is towards the end of the season. I think he's going to grow. I'm hoping he's going to grow because I'm a believer in his talent and his work ethic and stuff. But if it was just where he's at right now, I'd have to put him lower.
Yeah, I almost want to put up. Hold on. Hopefully my sound isn't on my computer. Can you hear me still, Kyle?
I can hear you.
Okay, hold on. I have to mute that. I'm gonna put up a poll and just say, is Kyle absolutely wrong with this Joe Flacco thing? I'm gonna put Flacco, Kyle, Flacco, dumb. Not dumb. And to see what people, I'm blown away. I legitimately am. So let's see.
Dude, you put Bryce Hall over Joe Flacco. Bryce Hall, I mean, dude, you shit on the dude all year last year, and he's come out and he's absolutely put like dog shit this preseason. But yet you have him over Joe Flacco.
Is Bryce Hall a better starting corner in the league than Joe Flacco is a starting quarterback?
Well, Joe, it goes always back to the thing that we said. Like, a lot of arguments could be solved on like, what are you actually arguing about and what's your criteria? And clearly we have a little bit different criteria.
I get that, but I don't think you bring that. I think you're so off on this one that.
But Bryce Hall, but dude, you obviously know Bryce Hall is a below average starter. Clearly, he's a below average starter as a corner.
He's a below average starter, which is a lot better than Joe Flacco would be as a starting quarterback in the NFL. If you actually, he's your legitimate starter. Is Bryce? So we're talking about backups now. Is Bryce Hall a better backup quarterback than Joe Flacco is a backup quarterback? 1,000 times yes.
Yeah, but you're not factoring in positional value at all. This is one of the reasons why you had Braden Mann as a rookie in your top 25 list one year.
How can you factor it? We're talking about talent relative to their position. So we can't factor in. We shouldn't factor in position group because then again, you're the top of your list better be defensive ends and offensive.
No, I
tackles.
think it's a minor thing that needs to be factored in a little bit though.
But
right?
but the way you just quantify it with Joe Flacco, it better mean a lot. That's all I'm going to say. Like, it better mean a lot than positional value. That's the only way it can justify it. I don't know. Okay.
There's a reason why backup quarterbacks get paid a decent amount, and there's a reason why the Jets traded draft capital to get Joe Flacco. So,
okay, so let's move on. Zach Wilson's my 20. I forget your 20 now. Let's move to 19. Who's your 19?
I have Jacob Martin 19.
Okay. Let's win. Let's fucking go. Bryce Hall is average, not below. Yeah, I put Bryce Hall as a slightly below average starter, which I get. But nonetheless,
Bryce is not average. You know that.
I said,
and I know you're not saying that, but whoever said that, come on.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to 19. My 19th best player on the roster is Dwayne Brown. I think you're looking at about again a slightly below average to average with him as a starting tackle, left tackle in this league. I know he made the Pro Bowl last year. Again, it's based on reputation, and signing a tackle for $11 million who's average, in my opinion, is it's a good price. So Dwayne Brown's my 19.
Okay, waiting for that film review of him too. I have him a little bit higher though.
No, I didn't record that yet. It's literally funny because like that Laken Tomlinson, DJ Reed, for whatever reason, all my really long film reviews are all 67 plays. It's a 67 player, so it's why it's a long one.
Okay.
He does the same pass set every single time. It's so funny, and I heard. I'm not going to call anybody out. I heard he offers a lot of versatility in his pass sets. He does the same thing every time, where he like 45-degree sets, throws a fake punch with the outside hand. As soon as he throws that fake punch with the outside hand, obviously pulls it back and it opens up his set, and it really leaves him susceptible to inside moves. But you'll see in the film review. 19th, Dwayne Brown. Yours was who? Sorry,
Jacob Martin.
Jacob Martin. I'll go first. My 18th. My 18th best player, which again I think we're at about average right now, is Whitehead. A lot of fans like him. There's a reason he only got $7-8 million. He's good in the box. You're asking him to tackle in space. You're gonna see some bad angles. You're gonna see some missed tackles. In coverage, do I think he's better in intermediate zones, short hook zones, curl the flats, things like that? Yes. Cover 2, okay, cool. You ask him to play like mid-third in a cover 3 or like cover 4 type stuff, off-man coverage on tight ends. Getting a little risky there. So I like Whitehead. I just don't think I like Whitehead as much as fans do or should.
Okay. Cool. We talked about him a little bit.
Okay. Is Greg Zuerlein your 18th or what are you going on?
No, you're the one who put special teams players in the list before, not me.
I did.
And that's one of the reasons you got Braxton Berrios in there too. Yeah. So you want me to give my 18 now?
Yeah, go ahead.
18 for me is Garrett Wilson.
Okay. I ended the vote.
And I wrote next to him should make a huge jump next year. So he should be much, much higher on this list next year. I think he will be.
That's Kyle. That's completely fine to me because Garrett Wilson's my 17th. I think towards the end of the beginning of the year, you might see Berrios a little bit more than him in certain packages. But towards the end of the year, you'll really start to see him ascending. But he's much more raw as a route runner than people think he is. But his physical capabilities are going to take over. Yak abilities, ability to go up and get the ball. I'm excited about him, but still, rookie he has some things to learn. So he's my 17th.
Okay. I'll go ahead and say my 17 now, and I already talked about him a little bit, is Zach Wilson. And initially I wrote him as 22, but then I started thinking about the criteria that I lead out. And I said that, I think by the end of the season, he's going to make a jump. So I have him at 17.
Yeah. So my next, go through 16th. I went first, my last one.
16, I have McGovern.
Okay. I match your 16th I match your 16th. So we're both on McGovern at 16, which I think people may think we're crazy. I think he's about an average level starter, which again, I think people see a couple of bad games to start off his career with the Jets and automatically assume that's what he is. He has some ups and downs. You want to see him be more consistent, but I think he's a good fit for the scheme and an average level center. So I have him at 16 as well.
Okay. So why don't you give your 15?
15th. I don't know if I'm going to get hate for this one. Maybe not. I think so far people think I'm pretty fair. My 15th best player on the roster is Michael Carter. Michael Carter, the first.
The running back.
The running back. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, one, he's not going to see a ton of reps this year, which doesn't necessarily always matter. I think he's again, now we're talking about plus starters. And I guess it depends on how many starters you kind of have. Michael Carter, I think, is a good starting running back, but not necessarily a superstar, not bad or anything like that. So you're talking about we're talking about now solid. He's a solid player at running back, which I think is fair for 15.
Okay. 15, I have Dwayne Brown there.
Okay. Yeah. Not too far off. I wish I can kind of have your list almost like oh, well, you had this guy above that guy, because sometimes it's hard to remember, but that's fair. I only had him a couple spots below you. But yeah, completely fair.
Completely transparent. You watched way more of him than me. I haven't watched any of his tape from last year. I will once you put out your review.
Yeah, you're going to see the whole thing with the outside punch open and get beat inside. It happens too often, and he has some. I don't want to say this, but I kind of whatever. He has some.
That's alarming because you think about it. I mean, he's old now, so naturally he's not going to have the athletic ability that he once did. And if you're old and predictable, that is a little bit of that's concerning. But what were you going to say? Sorry.
He has some Evan Neal to his run game, wide and low. So he doesn't create much movement there. He's a better pass protector than he's a run blocker. Run blocking, you're not getting too much unless you're talking about that whole positional versus physical leverage thing. So, yeah. Alex on X, so are you guys going to live stream your fantasy draft? I could, but I'm not so sure that everybody's going to be comfortable on the live stream. But we can discuss that, actually. Moving on to my 14th best player. There's going to be people who are probably going to hate on this because, you put him below, above Michael Carter. Corey Davis is my 14th best player on the roster. Again, for number 2, I think he's a solid number 2 starting level guy in this league. Yes, he had drops last year. Do I think that's his norm? No, I think he'll regress to the mean where he has a couple of drops, but not as many as he did last year. But still, you look at him as a starting level receiver. I think he's good enough to be at least 14th on my list. I'm comfortable with him starting.
Oh, Mike said he's recording the list. He's recording lists of our picks. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
And he said he's going to put it in the Discord. Yeah, Corey Davis, I struggled where to put him. I moved him several times. So Joe started writing his top 25 Jets list probably well over months ago. Like, dude, in 2 months ago, something like that.
In like June. Yeah, easily.
Okay, so he's been tweaking it here and there for a while. I just kind of wrote it out in one day and switched it several times over the course of that day.
Well, that shows the Flacco thing. But I'll be on the shitter and be like, you know what? Michael Carter's not as good as Corey Davis. To me, I feel like we're kind of the show. It's like, oh, this guy is overrated. We're on the train of Corey Davis. The fans is underrated. I get he had drops, but I think the fact that Zach Wilson struggled so much, almost exemplified Corey Davis's drop problems because we did find him 20 yards down the field. We didn't see it much with Zach Wilson. It's like 80 drops. It's like, oh, motherfucker. But Corey Davis is still a solid number 2 to me. So, 14 I think is fair. Did you say your 14th yet or no?
No, I did not.
Okay, go ahead.
George Fant.
Okay.
So, with somebody who said I don't know, 30 minutes ago that Fant's a little bit overrated. And, yeah, maybe some ways he is a little bit. I think that there's a good amount left to be desired in the run game with George Fant. So, yeah, I have him at 14. But he's solid.
Yeah, so my 13th best player, which I kind of already mentioned, and I was going to have him much higher than you, is Michael Carter II. I think he's a guy who's going to be a plus starter at slot corner, a guy who is versatile, both in terms of playing slot corner. Can you hear my dog barking in the back?
He's barking loud, but
Dude,
he's a puppy. He's a puppy.
No, my wife can't control my puppy as good as I can. Nonetheless, he could play some safety if you need him to. He's versatile in that way. He could play some slot. He's a good blitzer. So I like McCord a lot, and I think he's going to be like a staple of the Jets defense going forward. I like his versatility a lot. He's a good player.
He is a really good player. Which you are making me question why I have him at 22, but I'm sticking to
it's like that's a below average.
I'm sticking with the Flacco thing though.
I can't see that. I can't see that one.
Yeah, I'm also when you factor in like, so for example, part of my criteria is also like where they're going to be in the future or whatever. Like I don't see much improvement from someone like a George Fant at this point in their career.
That 38-year-old
Brown
is going to be great.
Yeah, but it's also where he's at right now. You could do a lot worse with him right now, and you're going to be happy. He's, we have him week 1 because if Mike White was out there. Anyway, let's stop with the Flacco crap. Even though some people are probably liking the banter back and forth. Yeah, no, especially when you're talking about the future Michael Carter. I mean, like I can definitely see him being a second contract guy. I mean, like he could be a guy that, spends, 7-8 years with the Jets. I could see that potentially happening. Like he's one of these like household Jets names. I could see that. So my 13th
list is minus Flacco is Michael Carter. I think or the second I think is way too low.
That's fair. 13th for me is the other Michael Carter, the running back.
Okay. Very close range for us.
And
I'm considering some of the injuries that he endured last year. I think he's a very good player. I'm just not sure. Like if you he's your number 1 starter all year. You don't really have another guy behind him, which again, I'm happy with them bringing in Breece Hall. But if you told me, okay, Michael Carter II Michael Carter, and let's just throw it at random, like Melvin Gordon was his number 2. Okay, great. Like I like that group. But I wouldn't be thrilled with him as just straight up number 1, So I had him 2 spots lower, but I think we're both pretty in line with where we think he is.
Okay, 12 for you, or do you want me to do my 12?
Go ahead with 12.
12 for me is Breece Hall.
Okay.
So we got both the running backs back to back.
Yeah. So there were some times where I like lumped guys together, like offensive lineman, receiver. Like, no, I got to break it up. Like maybe it's just I'm thinking in the wrong way. So I try to not necessarily, I try to be as fair as I could. Again, when you look at the list a bunch of times, you can kind of forget a little bit, or it can kind of cloud you a little bit where you overthink some things. But I'm relatively close with that one. And again, like, to me, maybe you're factoring in a little bit of like the positional value here with Breece. I don't know if you are though or not. Like how is Breece going to be?
It's like I said, the positional value thing's a minor thing for me, and that's both of them. I mean, like listen, in terms of like stats and like his overall impact. I mean, like listen, if Breece Hall is an 1,100 yard back this year, which is not crazy to think. I mean, like it's conceivably possible. I mean, he's still a running back though, so for me, it's okay. It's a minor factor, but I mean, I think he's a great player. I think he's going to be really good for us. But I have him at 12, and that's a little bit part of the reason.
So Fant is my 12. I think a part of him being good is also his versatility. Like you have to consider he could play left tackle, right tackle, relatively comfortably. So Fant was my 12, and then just to go with it, because you just mentioned him, Breece Hall was my 11th best player. So who is your
11th? John Franklin Myers.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised with that one. So overall, what are your opinions of JFM to be that? I think that's relatively low.
Well, I'm just looking at the guys I have over him, and I cannot justify putting him over any of the guys I have above him. I like John Franklin Myers as a player. I mean, listen, I'm on the record for many months on this show saying he's very he's capable. Like we loved him for his versatility. His first year with us, and we're saying, yeah, like, he's a 3-tech guy, but he wins at the edge from time to time. But last year when you saw him in a role where he was playing on the edge a lot, and offensive linemen, offensive tackles got to study him and, how he attacks guys and stuff. He wasn't nearly as effective from the edge. So that's kind of my thinking there.
Yeah,
By the way, the Flacco poll, it's almost 50 votes now, and about a third of the people are on my side. So you said, oh, you got one person. No, not so fast.
I am disappointed with the third of you. It is what it is. Moving on, Kyle. And I feel like I almost have this guy too low, and I think people are going to say I have him too low. But my 10th, rounding out or starting the top 10, ABT is my 10th best player on the Jets, and that kind of maybe his versatility should also help him. But the fact that he's moving the right guard, again, I expected near Pro Bowl level or a Pro Bowl level at left guard. I think the move to right guard is going to hurt him a little bit just in terms of his development. I don't think he's going to be bad or anything like that. I think he's going to still be a very good guard. I just don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowl level player this year. And again, you have to contextualize it with this is not most valuable to the team because ABT is one of the first guys I would grab going forward. It's really about now and in this year. So ABT is my 10th best.
I wouldn't argue with you. I mean, I have him higher, but I'm not going to argue with you about that. I see it. AVT struggled at times last year, but he's young and he's not totally switching positions. It's not like they're moving him to tackle or whatever, but they are flipping his side. And I did not like that. I get it, but I didn't like it. Okay. So that was your 10. My 10th is the other guard, Laken Tomlinson.
Okay.
Listen, I know he made the Pro Bowl. I know they gave him the big time contract and stuff, but I look at Laken and I definitely see a above average guard for sure. You could even call him good. I have no problem, but great or anything like that? No. And what's the upside? Okay. So.
Upside versus how good they are this year. I guess we're a little bit different on that one. And Mike actually asked us because we were 12th and 11th. My 12th and 11th.
Okay. So part of it is they're flipping AVT's side. So he has the learning curve that Tomlinson's not going to deal with. But do you really think if you had to bet on one of those two making the Pro Bowl this year, who would you be more likely to bet on making the Pro Bowl, AVT or Laken?
We're not going to obviously we don't want to quantify that right now. You have a rush against Aaron. It's hard to say because about different techniques and stuff. I am more confident in him in one game right now as a left guard than I am at ABT as a right guard. And to be completely frank, ABT to me struggled a little bit more at right guard than I wanted to see him in the preseason. So I'm not gonna lie, he did drop down my list a little bit this preseason.
Okay. And I have not studied him this preseason because for the third or fourth time tonight, I do not have coach's film. And you cannot study offensive line without coach's film.
Did you see the third and one where he ducked his head and got destroyed? It was
no.
a bad play.
I got to see that.
Is a bad play.
I have to see that.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
He's been disappointing me a little bit this preseason. But then again, new line, learning, all that stuff. I get it. I think he'd be very good. I just don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowl level player this year. Moving on to which, again, Mike asked for our 12th.
I keep climbing in the polls, man.
Okay. I think people are doing it at this point just for that sake, Nonetheless, Mike asked our 11th and 12th, the third time trying to do this. My 11th is Breece Hall. My 12th is Fant. Kyle, who's your 11th and 12th, just for Mike's sake?
My 11th was JFM, and my 12th was Breece Hall, the running back.
JFM, I have him higher. Maybe it's a little bit because I think he'd be much more effective inside and just assuming he's going to be better. But moving on, my 9th best player, and I'll let you go to your I guess do your 9th and 8th after this. My 9th best is DJ Reed. I
have him 9 too.
Okay, cool.
He's 9.
And this almost speaks to the Jets roster. I feel like we had much better players at 25 through 12. Now we're getting to the top. It's a top 10 player for us. So I really do think they need to get more top tier talent on this team. But it kind of speaks to where the Jets are right now. But yeah, Reed, I really like him. He has some technical flaws that he definitely needs to work on. Overall, I think he's a very good number 2 though in this league for sure.
Yeah, truthfully, I probably would have maybe put him a little bit higher on this list, but if I'm being honest, watching your review on him downgraded my opinion of him a little bit.
Okay, that's fair.
Truthfully, anyone who has the Jets X Factor membership, and if you don't sign up, you get a free month. Watch Blewett's review of him. I mean, Blewett obviously likes him, as do I, but there's a good amount of flaws in his game. Just from a technical standpoint, the athleticism is there, the grit is there, the toughness is there. So,
Watch
yeah.
that grit word. I almost thought you said strain. It was coming.
Oh,
Grit's
no.
close- Grit's too close to strain, though.
I don't ever remember any coaching staff or any in my like as a fan of football watching at any level or my playing days. I don't remember anyone using the word strain like that. I just don't.
I don't know. Kyle, can I ask you a question? I just thought I'm going to. I just thought of it. I just drank water. I don't know if I've ever seen you drink water on a stream. How do you talk for 3 hours and not drink anything?
That's not true. I do sometimes.
You do? I don't know. I've ever seen you.
I sometimes drink water. I've even popped up in sodas sometimes on the streams before.
Some soda pop. All right. So moving on to your 8th best player on the roster, Kyle. Who is it?
8 for me is a guy that you've had a decent amount lower, 6 spots lower. You had him 6 spots lower. So who is it, Joe?
Corey Davis.
Corey Davis.
Math.
8 for me.
Okay. Yeah. So you think Corey Davis is a better number two?
When I first wrote this out, I think I might have had him at like 6, and I think I slid him down 2 spots. Last year, I know he was in my top 5 last year. He definitely disappointed last year with the drops and stuff. But when I watched the dude play, I mean, like he's still a pretty good player, and he was definitely tearing it up at the practices I went to. He looked pretty good in the preseason. He is a 5th overall pick in the NFL draft. I remember, his Titans tape that you broke down ad nauseum, and I'm still a believer in this player when healthy. So I think that last year was a little bit of an aberration. I think he's going to rebound this year. He's still young, but he's not old.
Yeah. Okay. So my 8th best, which I almost feel like is too low. You probably know who I'm going to say. And I'm just trying to be realistic with this guy. Conklin's my 8. I really, really do like Conklin as a starting level tight end. I think he's very well plus average. Like I saw a list of like the NFL's top 10 tight ends in the league, and I saw Zach Ertz over there. And I'm like, no way Zach Ertz is better than Conklin. Like I really, really like this player. He might have slipped some people's mind. Like,
at this stage of their career, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, and like people probably like pass them by. Like I think people are probably going to think we have him a little bit too high on our list. But Conklin is my 8. We're both very, very high on him, and I haven't heard his name out of your mouth yet. So clearly, I have swayed maybe your opinion a little bit. So, Kyle,
well, definitely. I mean, listen, you definitely helped me like the player even more. But just like when you put on his tape, it's like, oh no, this is a good player. And dude, even like think about like when you can even see like when. I remember Kyle Pitts was talking with him at Jets training camp, and so Pitts is one of the best tight ends in the league already, and he has a lot of respect for Conklin already. And like, just look at how the Jets staff talks about him, how the other players talk about him. Yeah. I think he's going to become, especially if Zach, takes a step up and can get him the ball and stuff. I think he's going to become a household name, and people are going to know about him in fantasy leagues and all that kind of stuff. Even though some people, I assume, already do. He's a good player. And that doesn't even factor in like, the blocking that he has too. Very willing blocker, technically sound. I have him at 7, Tyler Conklin.
Okay. So
one above you.
Okay. That's fine. The next player on my list, and again, I'm trying to be realistic. My number 7 is Sauce. Now this is kind of considering like his whole entire frame of work. I think initially listen, he's been playing very, very well this preseason, but you're going to see some flaws come out in terms of his hands dropping and a little bit of his footwork when he goes against Stephon Diggs and all these guys, which is obvious, right? But with that being said, a rookie being 7 is very, very high praise. Like he's already, at this point, you're calling him a very solid number 1 corner in the league, which would be.
Where did you have Elijah Moore on your list last year?
I would have to go through a lot.
Because we're talking about a rookie. I had Elijah Moore at 7 last year.
At 7, top 25. I edited this last time a year ago, September 4th. Elijah Moore was my 7th best player.
Okay.
Wow. Hold on. I said Sauce my 7th best player, right? Too. That's okay. That's great.
Yeah. And you said that's a lot for a rookie, but clearly those you really like both those guys.
Yes. Yeah. So Sauce again, having him ranked as a very solid starting level corner. If you could sign a dotted line for that right now, Kyle, I think you'd sign a dotted line for very solid. I'm talking about this year, not in the future. We think he's going to be a superstar.
That he's very solid this year. If I could sign on the dotted line,
he's a very solid number 1 corner in the league for a rookie.
Very, very solid number 1. Yeah, I'd sign on the dotted line for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on to your 7th, right? Or did you already say your 7th?
No, my 7th was Conklin, so we talked about that.
Okay. I'll go with my 6th, the guy who had a little bit lower, Tomlinson. I think that he is, again, probably maybe should be a little bit lower, to be honest. Like maybe I should have him below Conklin.
I truthfully, just based on the way you speak about both of them, I don't know how he's above other than the contract.
Yeah, I would. If I could retract that, like looking at this now, like that we just spoke about those guys, I would probably put Tomlinson at. Am I allowed to do
so
that?
What did I? So I finished watching your
list?
Conklin review. What did I text you right after I finished your Conklin review? What message did I send to
you? You said if he had a good year, you're going to buy me a jersey.
I said you love this guy. And I said if he has a good year, I'm going to buy you his jersey. Like Joe Blewett loves Conklin. I'm honestly a little surprised.
I'm going to rescind my list. So now Tomlinson is at 9, Reed is at 8, Conklin's at 7, Sauce is at 6. So he moves up 1 spot higher than Elijah Moore did last year. Because you're right, like looking at their film, I did like Reed a little bit better. You know what? Reed is at 9, Tomlinson's at 8. Mike, I am sorry. Reed's at Tomlinson 8, Reed at 9, Conklin 7, Sauce at 6. I apologize. Did you even say your 6th? I'm screwed. My
6th is your 10th, maybe Elijah Vera Tucker.
Okay. You've
studied his preseason tape. Again, it's preseason, but I mean, he is going against backups. He's the Giants' starting defensive line is pretty good, and you're telling me that he had some bad reps against some backups. That's a little concerning. Yeah. But I'm still a believer in his talent, and I really liked his USC tape, especially at guard, not so much at tackle. Although it was fine at tackle for a college player, but just I don't view him as a tackle in any way, shape, or form in the NFL. But as a guard, I'm a big believer. So
again, I probably had ABT I definitely had ABT a couple of spots higher, and him having not necessarily the most ideal preseason drops him a couple of spots, which in reality maybe is a little bit of recency bias kicking in, maybe a little bit, but again, position change, it is what it is. So I had him at 10, you have him at 6. My 5th is JFM, and that comes with him moving to the inside. I think people are going to think I'm a little bit too high on him, but I think he's a very good edge rusher from a very good interior rusher. So I had him.
He's a good interior rusher,
which I think that's where he's going to be used. That's why he was signed to the contract he was. He was misplaced as a D end last year, so people look at him, he's not making an impact. He's not going to make much of an impact as a D end because he's not athletic enough to bend that arc. You put him on the inside, it's almost kind of like I think it's almost a really good way to compare it. The quote that Salah had about Cager, you're a slow wide receiver but a fast tight end. Kind of same thing with JFM, D tackle to D end. He's an athletic D tackle, a non-athletic D end, if you feel what I'm saying. So I think he's going to be much more effective on the inside, and I think that's again, I'm predicting him to have a large jump up this year and actually kind of earn his contract.
And you know how it's interesting how the Jets are trying to see if they have some versatility in Michael Clemens, which, Michael Clemens is a big dude, so maybe he does have that. But I almost feel like JFM, and they're both 4th round picks. So, but I almost feel like JFM, he's going to be more effective as a rusher off the edge than Michael Clemens will be as a rusher on the interior.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So you said you're 5. I didn't say my 5 though, right?
Yep. Nope.
CJ Mosley.
Okay. Who? I know we're gonna have our same top 4 or 5. I'm trying to think who's on your list right now. Who I already said. Who the hell am I missing? Who you didn't say already? I don't know. You said Zach Wilson, right?
Yeah, he was 17 for me.
Well, based
initially
on
22.
He should be 1, but nonetheless. So JFM is my 5. Your 5 was CJ Mosley. My 4 is CJ Mosley. So I'm pretty sure whoever you're going to say next, so I don't have a list, is your number 4 right now. So who is your number 4? And I think Mosley's another guy who's probably a little bit underrated by fans, maybe. I still think he's pretty good.
So now, mind you, that I said that injuries was a very minor factor in how I stressed it and how I put this in. Also, because I had Becton in here. You made me. You told me to take Becton out at the beginning. I was like, and I dropped Becton a lot because of the injuries. Because I was like, I texted you. I was like, I don't know where the fuck to put Becton. But anyway, this person, if it weren't for injuries, I would have this person 1 spot higher. Anyway, 4 for me is Carl Lawson.
I am blown. I don't know who's going to be in your top three. Who I don't know who you're talking about right now. So Lawson's your 4.
Yeah. You'll know, Joe. You'll know.
Who was your 3rd?
Well, you're gonna okay. My 3rd is Quentin Williams.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Am I missing a player completely off the scene right now?
You're missing someone, Joe, that you're not thinking about. It's fine. It's fine. It's just leading to the suspense. It's fine, Joe.
LaMarcus Joyner. Like, what is going on? Michael
Okay,
Clemens?
Joe, just say, okay, I said my 4 and 3, so let's hear your 4 and 3.
Okay. My 4 is Mosley, like I said. My 3 is Carl Lawson. Which is kind of, I almost feel like it's too high, and like we're kind of going off the past of him. Like, how much is his injury going to affect him? I don't know. So it might be a little bit too high with Lawson, but I'm holding out hope that he's going to be what he was coming into the Jets, and I think that's where I'm kind of at with him. But Lawson is my 3.
Okay, so do you want to do your 2? You got to do your 2. Do your 2.
Did you do your 3?
I did my 3. That's why it's your turn to do your 2.
Who the fuck am I forgetting right now?
That's why I'm saying you got to do your 2. I got to build that suspense up. Joe, who's your 2?
Is your number 1 Joe Blewett? Like, what is going on here? Somebody in the chat said that they'd rather have me on the team than Joe.
Don't look in the chat, Joe. Do not look in the chat.
But
not until after I say it.
There's no way I'm
looking in the chat.
I don't know. Okay, so my number 2 is Elijah Moore. And while I love Elijah Moore and I think he's going to be legit, he still has to prove. Obviously, you can stay healthy for a year. And I still, have to see it too. You can really argue 1 or 2. Like, I'm not trying to this guy is definitely better than him. But Elijah Moore is my 2. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl level receiver this year. And again, how do you quantify that? I don't know. Stats, I don't know. And realistically, if you were to say, hey,
by the way, I'm just realizing Garrett Wilson's not on your list at all.
I said Garrett Wilson was 17.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
my bad.
I said that. So
forgive me. Forgive me.
Yeah. Elijah Moore. If you were to tell me, hey, which obviously I'll just go with my number 1. You guys know that Q is my number 1 player on the team. If you were to tell me, hey, is Elijah Moore going to be a better receiver than Quinn Williams is ever going to be at a D tackle? Yes, but I'm also quantifying, like we said, like this year. This year, I think Quinn Williams is going to be a better defensive tackle than Elijah Moore is going to be a receiver. You're laughing. Like,
I'm laughing because someone said Kyle put Strevler at 1.
Yeah, probably. Go ahead. So Moore's my
2 for me is Sauce Gardner.
Really? Oh, okay. Okay, that's what I was missing.
That's what you were missing.
Oh, right? And you did the sauce, y'all. There we go. Yeah, no, I completely forgot that you. I was like, you didn't say you think Sauce is gonna be the 2nd best player on the team this year?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I really do. I really, really do.
Man.
And okay, I know for the Quentin Williams support, and I do like Quentin Williams. He hasn't lived up to the hype. If I'm honestly thinking right now, like I haven't looked at Quentin Williams NFL tape and said, wow, he's dominant. Like for certain stretches in certain games, okay, like he's dominated, but I never looked at like a whole season, even his best season, his 2nd season, said, yeah, Quentin Williams was dominant that year. I never thought that. Like I thought like he was good. But I think Sauce could dominate this year. Do I think he's going to struggle with like a Stephon Diggs or something? Yeah. But I feel like, his second game against Diggs, I'm not even like, he might get the best of Diggs in that game. I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't.
A top 5 receiver. So I think Sauce right now, if you're to tell me in 3 years, who's the best player on the Jets team, it's Sauce. It's probably Sauce 1, Elijah Moore 2. That's my opinion. But this year,
dude, I've been saying for a couple months now that I think he can be a Pro Bowler as a rookie, and I'm not backing down from that. I've seen nothing in this preseason to back me away from that.
Okay, yeah, no, that's. Hey, listen, I had him at 6, so it's not like I'm a lot lower on him. But to say this year he's been better than Lawson, better than Mosley, better than JFM,
dude,
better than Tomlinson,
dude, Mosley, we know Mosley was disappointing last year, was he not? Was he not disappointing last year? And he's like 29, 30 now. Okay. Carl Lawson, there is the injury thing. You were even questioning yourself. Am I too high on him because of the injury? And we know that Quentin Williams had a down year last year too. So in my opinion, I could not that's how I feel.
Okay. That's fine. Again, I think Sauce in our 2023, 2024 list, whatever it is going to be 1 or 2 with Elijah Moore. I just think this year, I'm going to bet on Quentin Williams being the best relative to his position. I think Quentin Williams coming back, Obviously being involved in the system more and learning, how to operate better. I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl level Q. I don't think Q is ever going to be necessarily what I expected him to be coming out of college, but I think Q is going to shoot up into like a top 10 D tackle this year, which is more than I can say. I don't think Moore is necessarily going to be a top 10 receiver this year. I think he'll be floating around that area. I think Sauce could be floating around that 10 to 15 area, but not necessarily top 10. I expect Q this year to be a top 10 D tackle who we're talking about extending. I liked his film too much in the past, and I'm going to ride it out. Q is my one.
That was okay. When you say in the past, I'm assuming you're referring to his second season, right?
Second season, even his rookie year, even his rookie tape. He was going, pretty much up, and then his third year just. So I'm expecting a climb back up.
We can say that, but I mean, like, listen, his year, as you said, came under this staff. So now we could also argue, well, now he's going to have more pressure coming off the edge. He's got some more guys to rotate with him on the interior.
Yeah.
He's been dominant in the preseason and stuff by all accounts. So I get why you have him there. I mean, listen, I have him at 3, but I feel more confident with saying that you're talking about top 10 to 15 player. I have more confidence that Sauce will be a top 10 corner than Quinnen Williams, a top 10 interior defensive lineman.
This year.
This year.
Quantify that. This year.
Okay. I'm saying this year.
Kyle?
I do believe that.
Listen, bud. There's no one who's I'm hoping for it, man. I hope Sauce is great. I got the jersey, all of it, but it is rookie year being the second best player. And I like this comment, which we're going to go through the comments in a little bit. But somebody said like Kansas City has the better like top 5 or top 10, but the Jets have the better like top 25. That's why I said like the Jets 10 through like 20, even like 10 through 30 was like kind of hard for me. The top 10, I'm like, okay. But Kyle, let's go through some guys who are like honorable mentions and like who just missed the list. And then let's get into the chat because after that I have to run shortly. But give me some guys who were like right on the edge.
Sure.
Just for context, I'll just go with my bottom like 4, my 21 to 35. It was Barrios, Uzama, Bryce Hall, Jacob Martin, and Huff. If you want to give your like bottom couple guys, and then give me 5, 6.
Okay, so just a quick reminder. I'll run 20 through 25. 20 was Joe Flacco. 21 was Uzama. 22 was MC2. 23 was Whitehead. 24 was Quan Alexander. 25 was Bryce Huff, the edge rusher. Mm-hmm. And then initially I had Becton in the list. Right before we started this, you said, I don't even have Becton in mind. So I took him out as well. Yeah. So Bryce Huff, initially, he was an honorable mention for me.
It was a this year thing with Becton. So I took Becton off.
Yeah, because we both had Becton in the top 5 last year, both of us.
Yeah, he was in my top 10 this year for sure. So
I had him at and then like I said, injuries was a minor factor. I put him at like 12.
Yeah, I think I had him like 10 or 11 probably looking at this list if he wasn't injured. But with that, Flacco is crazy. The Michael Carter thing is definitely crazy. Huff is a guy who you've increased your opinion of him a little bit. You weren't so high on Huff. I think you're a little bit higher on him after.
I don't think I've ever disliked Huff. I think I underestimated his athletic ability, truthfully, because he's a little short, doesn't have really long arms, and he was undrafted. So I assumed that he just wasn't a good athlete. But he does have some good bursts. He has really good snap timing. He can throw a good spin move. So I think I underestimated his athletic ability. Truthfully,
there's a rep in the game film you're going to watch, whatever you watch it, that he shows really good flexibility, and his best like trait is his power through his bend. Like he really is hard to move off his spot. So I like his film, but I'll just go through a couple of guys. And honestly, like I didn't really like think about this too much, but my next guy off the list was Quan Alexander. The next guy after that was Solomon Thomas. The next guy after that was JJ. And then I had Rankins. Then I had Curry. And then I threw in Joyner and Quincy Williams right after those guys. So yeah, Quan, Solomon Thomas, JJ, Rankins, Curry did not make the list. They were right there though.
Okay. In terms of honorable mentions, I only wrote down 3 names. I already mentioned one of them, and being Huff. And these were guys that I actually thought about putting in there, and I thought probably would be in there at some point, but I just couldn't put them in there. So the other 2 were Jermaine Johnson and Braxton Berrios.
Okay.
And for me, Barrios, it was because of his returning ability, because he's obviously a really good returner, and that obviously leads to value in the team. It's just like, okay, but how much value? And Jermaine Johnson, it's mostly like where he's at right now, which is the holdup for me, because he's and his preseason tape showed that he's a little ways away, and we knew that. I've been saying that for months.
I would say my next two, who I was really trying to figure out like who's my 25. Quan Alexander for sure. He's my 26th. And then Rankins was my next one because, like, yes, he had a disappointing last year, but is he going to bounce back at all? And if he does bounce back at all, I think he would be in that list, but he has to prove it to me first. Kyle, let's run through the chat really, really quick, just seeing if we missed anything. Blake Martinez got cut. I don't know if we have any interest in that. Again, is he a starter? No, but is he better than Delshon Phillips or whoever we brought back there? It's not Delshon Phillips. It's Marcel Harris, probably, Walmart CJ Mosley, but still might be better than what's his name, Marcel Harris. So let's just keep moving on. Kyle, any overall thoughts while I start to sift through this list? I didn't get shit on as much as I thought I was going to.
I liked the argument that we had, Joe. I thought it was good for the show, even though it was not intended to be an argument. I didn't say, "Oh, let me do this just to get Blewett going." I like that. It's funny when you think I love when you think I'm an idiot.
I don't know. Why do you so you like when I feel like you're an idiot? That's all right.
No, I think it makes for good, entertaining discussion. Because there's a lot of times when we're really on the same wavelength, and then there are other times when we're not.
Yeah, Kyle, I'm not gonna lie.
One of these recurring things where we're not on the same wavelength is Quinn and Williams.
You had him at 3. I had him at 1. How different are we? I don't know. But a lot of people were not. I think people voted yes, you're not an idiot, or you're not an idiot, just to start the conversation again. I don't think there's legitimately almost a third of people in here who think Joe Flacco is a top 20 player on the Jets.
I think you're wrong about that. I think you're wrong about that. Joe, be real with me right now. Mm-hmm. If Joe Flacco plays pretty damn good in week 1 and week 2, and the Jets win both of those games, are you going to think any differently about this discussion? Or aren't you going to be really grateful that the Jets have Joe Flacco?
Sure, but do I feel like he's going to be carrying them to those wins, or is it going to be the roster carrying Joe Flacco? Do I feel that CJ Uzomah
think about Flacco's time? Okay.
Flacco
Can we go back to 2020 for a moment? Let's go back to 2020 for a moment. Think about some of the vertical downfield throws that Joe Flacco was making that Sam Darnold wasn't. You think Mike White can make those throws?
You're arguing Joe Flacco versus Mike White. I'm arguing Joe Flacco versus CJ Uzomah. CJ Uzomah is a better tight end than Joe Flacco is a quarterback.
You got no argument for me there, but I factored in position value a little bit, and there's no more valuable position than quarterback in the NFL. By far.
No shit, but I didn't factor that in for obvious reasons because it leads to lists like Kyle's. Again, Alex, I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. I try to do it private because like 16 people or all 16 people are going to be comfortable live streaming in front of 100 people live and then thousands of people watch.
And you also have to factor in like some of these people who are in it, they're overseas too, so it might be like 3 a.m. for them, so they might have like a young kid or something like that.
Well, no, it's not. I know like Jets UK podcast, like he's in it, so he can't do it live because like he's gonna be at work or whatever, like security, whatever he does. But like, one, is it really entertaining for you guys to watch a fantasy draft? I'm not sure. Now, maybe if you want me to do some of my other fantasy drafts, let me know. Like if you guys want me to live stream some of my fantasy drafts, the problem is I'm going to be focusing on the fantasy draft, crossing names out, and you guys are going to be like, I'm not going to be highlighting your guys' comments and stuff because I'm going to be focusing on hopefully winning a couple $1,000s. So I don't know how entertaining it would be, but maybe if you guys want.
The poll keeps climbing for me, Joe. It's almost 40% now.
Yeah, okay. Jesse, pay for the Discord. Is it free? It's a Discord for, which, you know what? It's a Discord only for the Fantasy Football League. Jesse, with that, though, I'm going to bring it up to Nania and to Sabo. Maybe we'll talk about having like a JetX Discord and where we can talk with you guys. 4 guys who are subscribers of the website. Good. That's a good thought to have. Well, we should have some people who can reach us a little bit easier, not on Twitter. Private takes, So they can message me and be like, dude, Kyle, you got to get rid of the guy. I like him a lot, but the white t-shirt on Joe Flacco take, it went downhill too quick. We got to get rid of him.
By the way, I see Christopher was making fun of me about my shirt. Dude, he's fucking wearing a fucking Jaws wife beater. Like, look who's talking.
One, sun's out, guns out, and no, why does it?
What guns? What guns?
I don't know. I didn't look at his profile picture. He's ripped up, dude. I don't know. Does he have guns? What if he's cut?
I don't
He doesn't
think
have to
so.
have guns. Hey,
I don't
maybe
think
he's cut
so.
up and he's proud of himself. You know, he's made some progress. Maybe he's really skinny. Now he's only a little bit skinny. You know, do you not ever wear tank tops, Kyle? Or are you allowed to because you're nice and stocky?
I usually don't wear them, to be honest. It's very rare, actually.
You are skinny.
I haven't worn one in years.
I don't appreciate it.
But I don't think you should be wearing them if you're not ripped.
In my house in the summer, I am rarely wearing sleeves because my armpits need to breathe. I just run hot, so I don't wear them outside because I don't want to be that sun's out, guns out guy. But at the same time, I'm rocking tank tops all the time when I'm off, all the time. Gotta breathe.
In your house, though.
In my house, yeah. Gotta breathe. Gotta let the feet breathe. If you wear socks to bed, you wear socks in the house, I judge you heavily. But so it's kind of the same thing. I don't know. I'm gonna keep moving up. Keep moving on.
Dude, at the very beginning of this stream, you were saying, "Oh, don't judge." And I said, "You're very judgmental."
If you wear socks to sleep, I judge you. I'm sorry. There are certain things I can't get past. Socks to sleep is just weird. You have a blanket. I don't know what it is.
I hate sleeping with socks. I can't stand that.
It's weird. Michael Lando just subscribed. Appreciate that, Mike. Apparently he agreed. He liked the top 25. Maybe we're losing them now talking about socks and sleep, but I'm just trying to.
Joe, do you want to quickly read our top 25s from? No, we did that. We did that not that long ago. Never mind.
Go ahead. Go 1 through 25. Lightning round. Nothing to it. Just go.
No. I think the chat's more important. We did that probably a month ago or something like that.
Are there any other than Hill or any other great receivers under 6 foot? Isn't Diggs like 5'11"? Jefferson's right at 6 foot or a little bit under.
No, Jefferson's
right?
like 6'2".
Is he that tall?
He's pretty tall. He's like 6'1", 6'2". No, there are plenty of receivers that are good that are under 6 foot.
I think, yeah. How
tall is Diggs? So what's the other Dolphins receiver? Do you consider him good? Waddle?
Oh,
he's
Waddle,
definitely under 6 foot.
I forget everybody's heights, to be completely honest. That's kind of hard. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Okay, I'm trying to scroll through. Happy tanking late, but it's okay. Hope you go back and watch. We had an entertaining Joe Flacco argument. I tried to not go crazy on calling out other media members, but Ledger Doosville caught a little bit of heat on this show, to say the least. So appreciate that. Glad you had to catch you live. Keep up the great work. Appreciate that. Happy tanking. I don't want to necessarily read it because I want to sound like a dick, but definitely thank you. Sauce will be a top 5 corner for sure. I'm assuming corner. Yes, I agree. This year, not so sure. I hope Sauce is a shutdown corner. You don't have to worry because apparently Kyle, he is going to be immediately to be that high on his list.
I just feel like, listen, with Sauce and dude, you always, whenever the name Revis even gets brought up, people are going to accuse you of blasphemy. But I just been running through this in my head the past couple months since we actually drafted him and that became a reality.
Okay.
And there's a part of me that wonders, is it not crazy to think that Sauce could even be better than Revis, especially long-term, just because, he's got some gifts that just Revis didn't have. Mm-hmm. But then I just kept going back and forth saying, but yeah, Revis's technique was flawless.
Bro, it's Revis.
Yeah. So
Revis. Now you're telling me if you put Revis's technique into Sauce would be the better player because he's a better athlete than Revis, but Revis is Revis. See,
I got it. So I'm not going to even.
That's the argument that technique wins at the end of the day. Revis is that argument.
Fair. So I won't debate that, but I'm just saying Sauce does have good, he has really good technique, and then he's just got this freakish athleticism, these freakishly long arms, but then he also has the speed and the ability to turn, which they've tried with so many corners over the years. He's tall and has long arms. He's going to be good, but they just don't have the hips. But Sauce has the hips. But it's not just that, but Sauce also understands, okay, I'm going to split this route in a cover too. Some guys just don't have that understanding of where you need to be in a route combination.
Dude, those plays in the Falcons game were really, really impressive, playing high to low. But I gotta keep moving on because I gotta bounce out here. But Carmelo, I'm also hurt. Who's our red zone threat?
Carmelo's hurt by what?
That Guidry's gone.
Oh.
Who's our red zone threat? I don't think the Jets have a true jump ball. Honestly, it might be Garrett Wilson. You're throwing up a ball in the red zone. It might be Garrett Wilson.
If I threw a fade, I would take Garrett Wilson over anybody else.
Everybody. Yeah, that's it. Me too. Me too. Let me keep. Moving on. Love the debate. Want to see you two back slapping.
Especially the thing with Garrett Wilson too is because you can put him in motion, and he can win on a jump ball from anywhere in motion. Like whether it was like, if he was like the one on the outside and you threw a fade ball to him, or if he's like doing what Calvin Jackson did, where he's going to run a corner route from the slot. And I think he could win in any one of those ways. So like just the fact that you could put him in motion, like if he lined up in the slot initially, a team would think, okay, that's realistic. Like he could line up there, but then you switch him last minute, it would confuse teams. Versus like if you take Uzama, and Uzama's at the fullback in the backfield, and then you motion him out to be the number one on the boundary, no team's going to think, oh, they're going to throw a fade to Uzama here, and they're not going to be scared of it.
He's not a good jump ball guy now. Yeah. Let's see. Who wants to see you two back slapping about how similar picks? Oh yeah, true. Yeah, I get that. Mike wants the Jet X. Yeah, I'm gonna look. I'm not gonna guarantee. I'm gonna look into that. Steven cannot convince me. No, neither. You must hate Steven because he doesn't agree with your Joe Flacco take. He wears tank tops 75% of the time, and he wears socks to bed. Kyle, Steven is just on your shit list, huh?
He's on your shit list too for the socks thing.
Yeah, the socks thing. I'm sorry, but West Coast Jets only serial killers wear socks to bed. Yeah. So okay, Kyle, I gotta get out of here. But with that being said, really, really fun show. Really appreciate everybody being in here. Every single Thursday night at 6:00, myself, Kyle, Nania. If you are in the draft for the fantasy draft, if you don't show up and get auto drafted, you're getting kicked out of the league. I'm giving you a refund. I'm getting somebody to replace your team. Somebody out there will replace that team. Have to show up. Discord hopefully show up, and I'm going to invite you guys individually all to a Zoom session. There will be 15, 16 of us in a Zoom session talking shit as we draft. If you guys really, really want to, maybe I could live stream a draft because I'm going to be doing the draft anyway. So if you guys want me to talk and talk through my thought process and you guys will talk shit to me, we could do that as well. Discord, the Discord thing, again, might happen. And then past that, I'm trying to think of anything off the top of my head. Jorby31 on Twitter. A lot of reviews coming out. Preseason, all the players you could possibly want. Nothing else until Kyle talks. Maybe I have something else after that.
I would just say that people should really join the site. There's a lot of content on there, especially the Blewett film reviews. It's my favorite.
Appreciate that, Kyle. Oh, by the way, week 1, if you guys are going to be there, hit me up.
J1, right?
Yeah, so the thing is, like the whole big tailgate with all the YouTubers and all that stuff, it's been moving around from like J to L to D to wherever it is. I was going to go because I was going to be in J, and it was supposed to be in like J2, and I was going to walk right over to J2, and it'd be easy for me. J1 is my lot. I'm staying in J1. If they're going to be all the way in D, I don't know if I'm going to show up there. I will personally be in J1 anytime from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. You guys want to show up, find me, shotgun a beer, get your ass whooped in cornhole. I am down. J1, everybody come. That's where I'm going to be. I think I might link up with Tyson at some point, who's in like J21. But I'm going to be in J. So find me there. Reach out, Twitter, email, whatever. Appreciate you guys, and I will catch you soon.
Peace.